Chapter 586. When the New Year's bell rang, the transport team from Sanshui County was already on their way. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were unable to eliminate the cold current. The only thing they could do was to send the cotton that was planted early and harvested early this year to Sanshui County to be made into clothes to the northernmost area of the Tang Empire. Originally, this batch of clothes and quilts was prepared to be sold in the capital for a good sum of money. In addition to the quilts and coats, Wang Wan also took a military map of the area and circled a few places on it with a pen. She asked the local people to think of a way to dig in those places. Those were the approximate locations where coal mines could be found. Zhang Xiaobao had thought more than once that it would be great if there was heating. If there was no heating, he could hide in the house and try not to go out as much as possible. Unfortunately, this wish was too difficult to realize. It might be possible to make a small boiler with his family's resources, but if he wanted to provide heating in a certain province or several provinces at the same time, not to mention whether he had the money to support it, even the materials were not available. The only place that could use heating now was probably the marble house in the imperial palace. He hoped that Li Longji would not forget that there were still people who were freezing to death when he was warm. When the steaming hot dumplings were placed on the table, the sound of New Year's greetings rang out among the families celebrating the New Year together. There were still people performing on the built stage. In the midst of the bustle, a group of children ignored the people singing and dancing on the stage. They were led by the maids and servants to play with the flowers. Winter in Shuzhou was not warm. At least this year, it was dry and cold. Unfortunately, there was no snow or ice. Without the snow and ice lanterns, many people who lived in the north were not used to it. Old Man Pai and the other three people always had a trace of worry in their eyes amidst the bustling atmosphere. They did not want to mention it during such a happy time, but they had to find Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who were leading the fireworks. Xiaobao, do you think someone will freeze to death in the north? Old Man Pai frowned as he listened to the sound of fireworks exploding one after another. He shouted at Zhang Xiaobao. When Zhang Xiaobao heard the commotion, he opened his mouth and directly pulled Old Man Pai and the other three people into a nearby room. It was better to talk here than outside. When the crackling sounds of firecrackers rang in their ears, they also shouted to the four old men. My family doesn't have a choice either. Didn't they start building a large number of Kong beds a few years ago? I don't think there's anything wrong. When he said this, Zhang Xiaobao felt that he was going against his conscience. No matter how many Kong beds were built, there would still be people who would freeze to death. However, there was nothing he could do about it. Not to mention now, even when he and Wang Wan were still together, when the cold winds of winter came, not everyone could be safe. There were even people who died of heatstroke in summer. Then can you send some cold resistance items over? For example, the things in the shells that your family sells? If you apply it on your hands and face, at least your skin won't crack from the cold. Old Man Pai shouted again. He also knew that there were people who died of heat and cold every year. In the past he couldn't think of a way, but now that he had Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's things, he felt that he could do a better job. Zhang Xiaobao didn't think that antifreeze ointment could save people's lives, but since Old Man Pai suggested it, he could only agree. He nodded and shouted. Then send a few more carts of things over. After the new year, my family will make a special heating product. I hope that the people in the north will have the money to make it. Next year, it's this year's winter. If we encounter such a situation again, it will be better. Zhang Xiaobao thought of an earthen boiler. It was a very simple thing. It was built inside the stove, installed a water circulation system, and connected to the outside with a pipe. It could be heated. It was better than a Kong. A Kang's heat dissipation was too poor, so it wasn't cold standing on it. If the house was bigger, it would still be cold standing far away from the Kong. Zhang Xiaobao had experienced this kind of cold before. When he was sleeping at night, his back was uncomfortably hot, and his nose was red from the cold. People in the countryside all used earthen boilers. As long as there was a fire in the stove, it was much more comfortable. Old Man Pai was satisfied. I knew your family would have a way. Can the methane pool be used there? Zhang Xiaobao felt that Old Man Pai was really whimsical. When it was cold in the north, the methane pool's efficiency was too low. Wei Wei shook her head. This time, she didn't say anything, but her meaning was very clear. Forget it. Let's go out and watch the fun. Old Man Pai said regretfully. His voice was directly covered by the sound of firecrackers and fireworks outside. This year's New Year, the people of Shuzhou were much better off than before. Every family had spare money and didn't have to worry about dumplings. Even people who lacked labor at home also had white flour and meat. According to tradition, Zhang Zhong still sent things to the poor this year. He personally sent things to the people next to the state capital. He also sent people to send things to the people further away in hopes that everyone would have a good New Year. At this time, the capital was also very lively. Ever since there was such a good advertising method like ice lanterns, the merchants spared no effort to decorate the capital. As the emperor, Li Longji was also enjoying the happiness of the new year. He had a very beautiful house made of white marble. Even if the outside could freeze people into ice, the inside of the house was still very warm. Fireworks bloomed in the night sky one after another. Li Longji had to come out of the warm house to celebrate with the people. He looked at the ice lanterns on the street in the distance with his clairvoyant eyes, and then looked at the bright fireworks in the sky. The cool and lively atmosphere of the night made people feel like they were in a dream. A cold wind blew, making people shiver involuntarily. Li Longji took the stove that was handed to him. He finally remembered that there was a place in Great Tang where even news could not be sent. Who knew how many people there would freeze to death? He turned his head and asked the person next to him, Official Gao, what do you think will happen in the north at this time? Don't worry, Your Majesty. I've received news that the Zhang family of Sanshui County sent a large number of carriages a few days ago to transport all the cotton-padded clothes and blankets that Lu Zhou just sent over to the north. Counting the days, it won't be long before they arrive. Your Majesty, please look over there. The light there is different from other places. It's the light bulb that the Zhang family sent over here. Gao Lisha replied and immediately pointed at a place not far away. There were colorful lights there, which looked very beautiful in the night sky. It was good to use this to divert Li Longji's attention. Chapter 587. When the sound of firecrackers gradually stopped, the little guys who couldn't bear it went back to their houses to sleep with regret. The performance on the stage was still the same. The people who came to watch the performance were enjoying it against the cold. The servants of the Zhang family and the Wang family went to sleep and busy themselves. The adults set up the table and started to play mahjong. Since Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan proposed this kind of entertainment to their families, it had become popular in the Tang Empire. In the process of entertainment, it naturally became a new gambling tool. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's restaurant became popular under such circumstances. Adhering to the convention of the casino, there were several mahjong masters among the people brought by Lu Jiro. They began to earn money from the Zhang family and the Wang family according to Lu Jiro's instructions. The rules of the 13-card pour who game were simple. There was no need to count the cards and only the slots. Zhang Zhong only used a short hour to lose 2,000 strings of coins to the people sent by the Ministry of Works. Experts. Zhang Zhong had finally met an expert. 3 people against 1. The Zhang family didn't care about this little money. Zhang Xiaobao knew that his father was usually busy and didn't have time to spend energy on this kind of thing. As long as he was happy, it was okay to lose some money. But Lu Jiro seemed to feel that she won too little. She didn't know how much money she was going to win from the Zhang family at the mahjong table. She actually raised her base money again and again, and it became 100 strings of coins. The 3 of them looked at each other, and won more than 1,000 strings of coins from Zhang Zhong in 2 games. Zhang Zhong's forehead was sweating. The 3 masters from the Ministry of Works didn't seem to be satisfied. Under Lu Jiro's signal, Zhang Zhong's opponent suddenly changed 10 strings of coins. It seemed that he wanted to continue to win a lot of money. This had become a gambling game. In the beginning, Zhang Xiaobao was still helping to pour the water. But as he watched, his expression became unhappy. Why did the taste change when they were just playing? Old Man Pai also noticed Zhang Xiaobao's expression. He moved his mouth close to Lu Jiro's ear and said, "Enough is enough. This is called a scheme. While we're happy, we'll win a few tens of thousands of strings of cash from Zhang Zhong. so that we can bargain with the Zhang family. Lu Jiro didn't know what she was thinking. She actually wanted to take advantage of this opportunity. Old Man Pai Weiwei shook her head and said, "That's still better than 3 people bullying 1 person. Don't be afraid. There's no such thing as big or small in the casino. Isn't there a master in the Zhang family? Once we've lost enough, we might be able to force the expert to show up and meet him." Now, even if you ask Zhang Zhong to stop playing, he won't do it. Losers are all like that. Lu Jiro was still proud of her plan. "Then I hope your Ministry of Works has enough money to lose," Old Man Pai said meaningfully. He didn't think that the Zhang family would let things develop according to Lu Jiro's plan. How could there be no masters in a mahjong game made by others? Sure enough, Zhang Xiaobao was angry when he saw the 3 of them bullying his father. Entertainment was entertainment. Everyone had to rely on their own ability. If the 3 of them colluded to beat him, what was the point? If you want money, just say it. Why use this kind of method? When his father finished another 2,000 strings of cash, Zhang Xiaobao smiled and moved closer to his nervous father and said, "Dad, I'm itching to play. Why don't you let me play with the 3 uncles for a while?" Zhang Zhong was also anxious about losing. He knew that the 3 of them were helping each other. He really wanted to stop playing, but he didn't have a chance to leave. He couldn't get angry, so he could only lose the family's money again and again. Although the family had a lot of money, they couldn't give it to others for free. Seeing that his son wanted to play, he immediately gave up his seat with a smile. This move surprised Lu Jiro. She understood the thoughts of people who lost a bet. Usually the more they lost, the more they gambled. It was really difficult to make them leave the gambling table. She didn't expect Zhang Zhong to give up so easily. He didn't care at all. This could be said to be free and easy. It could also be said to be knowing when to advance and when to retreat. Zhang Xiaobao admired his father the most. It was like this in the past. He didn't fight with his children, didn't fight with his wife, and put his position in the right place. This was the most rare thing. Taking a step back required more courage and magnanimity than taking a step forward. When Wang Wan saw Zhang Xiaobao sit in Zhang Zhong's seat, she began to feel sad for the 3 people from the Ministry of Works who bullied others just now. She knew very well what kind of person Zhang Xiaobao was. What kind of people were locked in prison? How many times had Zhang Xiaobao been in and out? Sure enough, Zhang Xiaobao had a smile on his face when he sat down and shuffled the cards. He seemed to be very relaxed. His small hands were rubbing the cards, making it seem like he didn't know how to play cards. When the others finished arranging the 34 cards, Zhang Xiaobao slowly arranged his own side. He pushed it forward and waited for the others to play the dice. His opponent was still in the 10th position. As long as they could win, the 3 people from the Ministry of Works were even prepared to bully a child. One person grabbed 13 cards. Zhang Xiaobao's opponent had just 1, so he grabbed an extra card. After the 3 people from the Ministry of Works set up their cards and were moving back and forth, Zhang Xiaobao's card was not set up at all. He only used his hand to quickly touch the cards from left to right, and smiled as he waited for his opponent to play. This action stunned the people watching the game, and the 3 people at the table. What was the meaning of this? He didn't look at his cards? Then how were they going to play later? He grabbed a card and casually played another card? East Wind. Zhang Xiaobao's opponent first played the cards in his hand. Zhang Xiaobao's opponent was about to draw a card when Zhang Xiaobao suddenly said, "Don't move. I won. Peacock flies southeast." As he spoke, Zhang Xiaobao had already taken his opponent's tile, while the others were still in shock. With a whoosh, his tile was erected. Before the others even knew what a peacock flying southeast meant, he had already added the east wind tile into the mix. When the others saw the face of the cards, they were speechless. He won as expected. Zhang Xiaobao's opponent was stunned for a moment. He seemed to be in disbelief. He had just played a card, and his 2,000 strings of cards were gone just like that. It's a pity that there are no such rules. Otherwise, I could have won more. Let's continue. Come 3 uncles, please let me win. Zhang Xiaobao took the chips that represented money over, and said with an innocent smile, "Hiss." The 3 people from the Ministry of Works sucked in a breath of cold air at the same time. Their hearts skipped a beat. An expert. They had met an expert today. Not only them, but the spectators also realized that if Zhang Xiaobao had set up his cards at the beginning and his opponent played, it would have been fine if he won. However, he didn't set up his cards at all, and just touched them. Could it be that he knew that his opponent could play this card? Doubts were doubts, but the game still had to continue. Lu Jiro called someone to her side and gave him a few instructions. This person came to the side of the three people from the Ministry of Works and whispered something to each of them. The three people nodded one after another to show that they understood. When they shuffled the cards this time, the three people deliberately shuffled the cards a few more times. Their 6 big hands couldn't block the cards and shuffle them, so that Zhang Xiaobao's small hands wouldn't move randomly like before, and push the shuffled cards into their hands. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care. His small hands were still so unhurried, and the smile on his face didn't decrease. He did do it on purpose just now. He wanted to show off his strength to the three people first. That kind of trick could only be used once. It was unexpected. If he used it again, it would be discovered. Just like the previous game, Zhang Xiaobao didn't even look at the cards that were caught. He touched them with his small hands, and when he was done, he picked out a card from the pile. When he opened it, he said 5 pikes, bang. The opponent happily took the 5 pikes and casually threw out another card. Zhang Xiaobao went up and grabbed a card. Zhang Xiaobao also grabbed a card. Just like the first card, when he threw it out, he said 3 pikes, bang. The opponent happily took the card again. Several times in a row, Zhang Xiaobao's opponent only grabbed a card once. The rest was up to Zhang Xiaobao's opponent and opponent. Seeing that the opponent and opponent's cards were getting fewer and fewer, Zhang Xiaobao once again grabbed a card. He showed the card and said softly, "Word touch, all of the same color. Unfortunately, I still can't win." This time, he changed to 10 gears. The opponent lost 2,000 pikes, and the opponent lost 1,000 pikes. Now, it was the three people from the Ministry of Works' turn to sweat. What's going on? Does Zhang Xiaobao know what other people will play? Lu Jiro thought she saw a ghost and muttered in disbelief. Old Man Yao was also puzzled. It was strange. Zhang Xiaobao didn't look at the cards at all. Even if he wanted to send someone to stand behind and report to others, it was useless. While they were still trying to figure it out, the third round started. Zhang Xiaobao was still using the highest 10 cards, which was the limit. Once he had 14 cards in his hand, he played a round of cards. In the second round, when he was drawing cards, he played a hidden bar, which struck a chord in the hearts of the 3 Ministry of Works members. It was over. Each of them lost 2,000 pikes. This was already agreed upon. The hidden bar counted as the pikes. If they followed other rules, they would lose even more. Now they could only follow the same rules as before and try their best to lose all the cards this time. That way, it wouldn't count as a bar, and a yellow card would be a yellow bar. But how could this idea be realized? After a few more rounds, after Zhang Xiaobao threw out an open bar, he picked up a card and pushed it. He said with a smile, "I won. Flowers on the bar. Thank you, thank you." According to the rules, flowers on the bar wouldn't be doubled. But even so, the 3 parties lost 4,000 pikes each. Not only did Zhang Zhong win back what he had lost, but he also made a lot of money at the same time. Before the 4 old men could think of a good idea, they played a few more rounds in a row. In the end, the 3 people from the Ministry of Works lost every round. No matter how they signaled, it was useless. After Zhang Xiaobao won another round with 2 open bars, a hidden bar, and a self-draw, he asked with a smile, "Uncles, do you still want to play? Your chips have already been exchanged with money. Why don't you pay the money first, or write a written agreement before playing? Otherwise, what if you don't admit to it?" "Xiaobao, we're just playing for fun. What's with money? Taking the chips is actually just a start. Don't really count the money." Old Man Lu wiped his sweat and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Ah, don't count? Then it seems like someone has already gone to exchange the money my father lost. Those few pikes were all exchanged for chips." Zhang Xiaobao blinked his big eyes and said with a puzzled expression, "Exchange it back. We'll exchange it back immediately. Hurry up and exchange it." Old Man Lu blushed. After saying that to Zhang Xiaobao, he glared at the people beside him. Just now he was afraid that Zhang Zhong wouldn't admit to it after losing, so he immediately exchanged the chips he won for pikes. Now he was shooting himself in the foot. However, he really had no other choice. Zhang Xiaobao won at least 30,000 strings of pikes in a short while. His opponent lost the most, more than 40,000 strings of pikes. Where was he going to get this money? Zhang Xiaobao nodded helplessly and said, Grandpa Lu is the most reasonable one. Xiaobao has learned a lot again. Forget it, there's no need to put so much thought into it. How about this, let's play poker, a smaller one. This time, you're not allowed to go back on your word. It's not like playing mahjong where you have to spend a lot of time counting the tiles. Hearing Zhang Xiaobao's words, Old Man Lu wished that there was a hole in the ground for him to crawl into. The expert didn't appear, and only Xiaobao was able to beat up the three people who worked together. What a mistake, what a mistake. Now that they saw that Zhang Xiaobao wanted to change to another game, the three people from the Ministry of Works who had already lost shook their heads vigorously like rattles. They didn't realize that they spent a lot of time playing mahjong. Most of the time, after a few rounds, Zhang Xiaobao would win. They didn't know how it happened. Xiaobao, don't bully others. Come over here and eat. Wang Wan saw that Zhang Xiaobao had scared the others, so she could only come over and pull Zhang Xiaobao to another place. Otherwise, with him around, the others wouldn't be able to continue playing. Zhang Xiaobao also felt that it was meaningless. The opponents were too one-sided. They didn't even know how to remember their cards, and they definitely wouldn't mess up their cards through the back and forth. Otherwise, with three people working together, even if you clearly knew what the next card was, you wouldn't be able to stop them from winning. If you messed up the rhythm by touching a card, they would immediately adjust by eating. After waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to leave the table, Old Man Pai moved closer to Old Man Lu's ear and said, How was it? You still haven't used your money to buy the chips. Otherwise, you would have lost all your money. An expert. I didn't expect Xiaobao to be an expert in this field. With this ability, the Zhang family doesn't need to do business anymore. If we let Xiaobao out to gamble with others, the money will continue to flow in. Old Man Lu looked at the cards on the table and said softly. He still didn't understand what was going on. It seemed that the experts under him were not good enough. They still had to train. Otherwise, if they encountered someone like Zhang Xiaobao, wouldn't they be beaten to death? The bustle of the 30th day gradually faded away. By the 5th day of the new year, Zhang Zhong didn't care about other places. Suzhou began to resume its normal work. The people also began to work hard for the new year. It wasn't just Suzhou. It was the same for Luzhou. After the new year, those who were supposed to go out to sea still went out to sea. Those who were supposed to transport goods also began to organize people to transport goods to various places. The fishermen on Cheongzhou Island formed teams of a few people to go fishing further away. The trading fleet that was going to Luzon also set sail. This year, they were going to hire the local people to grow enough white-fold cloth and bring it back to Tang to sell. This was all because of the cold weather this year. At the same time, it was also the reason why the white-fold cloth was widely promoted in various places. Lighthouses were still being built in further places. Whenever they encountered an island or a bigger reef, they would have to build a lighthouse on it. One was to guide the ships, and the other was to show the ownership of that place. On the farthest lighthouse, there were still people guarding it during the new year. The patrol ships also patrolled back and forth on the 30th day of the new year. Occasionally, they would stop and send blessings to the lighthouse keeper. When the 15th day of the new year was approaching, the lighthouse keeper on the farthest lighthouse was waiting for the lantern festival to eat. The people who were taking turns to look at the sea with their clairvoyance came to watch. Just when they thought that nothing would happen today, they suddenly saw a few ships in the distance. The ships in front of them carried the flag of Tang. The ships behind them didn't have any flags. It seemed that the ships of Tang were running, and the ships behind were chasing. Not only were there more ships chasing, but they were also bigger than the ships that were running. Quick, send a signal. Someone is bullying our Tang fishing ships. Who's tired of living? Quickly inform the patrol. Chapter 589. The waves lapped against the shore, reflecting the light of spring. People came and went on the bridges. There were thousands of shadows of sails, one in Zhejiang, Hangzhou, and one in Hunan. The fish in Tang and river were getting warmer, but Luzhou's coastal defense lighthouse was not cold yet. The blue sky was clear, and the clouds were floating. The sound of Zhongxing's gunships rang out. While Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were busy with the spring construction, Luzhou's lighthouse finally played its role. On the farthest lighthouse, the person in charge of guarding the lighthouse saw 3 boats fleeing. Through his 1,000-mile eye, he could see the Tang flag on the fleeing boats while the ones behind did not have any insignia. He sent signals to the patrol boats while he guided the 3 fleeing boats. The fleeing boats were much smaller than the pursuing boats. He wondered where the 3 boats learned to sail with triangular sails. When they sailed against the wind, they would draw the word Z on their sails. The pursuing boats had straight sails. At this moment, the sails were lowered. The 2 groups of boats were able to maintain a certain distance from each other under such circumstances. The small boats could not run fast, and the pursuing boats could not catch up to them. However, they did not seem to have any intention of giving up. Perhaps the lighthouse was too small a target during the day and could not be seen from afar. The fleeing boats were initially heading in the right direction, but they started to deviate as they ran. The pursuing boats did not notice the lighthouse as well. They were still trying to close the distance between them. As fireworks rose from the lighthouse, the 3 boats hastily adjusted their direction. "Stay here and watch. I'll fight it out with them. If I die, detonate the explosives left behind in the lighthouse for the patrol boats. Luzhou's trading company will avenge us." The person who woke up from his sleep hastily put on his clothes and ran down the stairs after he finished speaking. He kicked out the ballista with wheels in the storeroom below. The ballista had 12 arrow slots. Each arrow was 4 feet and 3 inches long and was forged from fine iron. It was considered a weapon of the highest grade. However, nobody would come so far to investigate. One by one, the arrows were placed on the string, and the string was loosened by cranking the handle. By the time the 3 people on the leading boats could be seen with the naked eye, all 12 arrows were in place. "Let's see if I can kill someone today. Let's run. We're about to catch up to them. No, I have to block the crossbow so that they'll be on guard. Damn it. Luzhou's trading company is really awesome. They actually gave the lighthouse a crossbow." The lighthouse was in a daze. While muttering to herself, she shouted at the approaching ships. She didn't care whether they could hear her or not. She timidly found a piece of canvas and blocked the cold arrowheads of the crossbow. It seemed that she had made up her mind to ambush someone. The people on the 3 boats did not hear her, but they saw the lighthouse. It was also their first time here. They had always heard that the lighthouse here was good. When they were tired from fishing, they could rest in the lighthouse. Anyone who sold the shellfish to Luzhou's trading company would be given free drinks and meals. However, they had to show the proof of the transaction. The people on the boats did not know how strong the support from the lighthouse was. However, this was a place where they could rest. Moreover, it belonged to Luzhou's trading company. It was better than running on the sea alone. They could go in and block the door for a while. The people on the 3 small boats did not have the time to adjust their landing positions. They were directly stranded on the reefs or the beach. The people also ran down one after another. They did not care about the boats, and did not have time to care about the things on the boats. There was no situation where they had to bear the burden for a little bit of harvest. A total of 10 people jumped down from the 3 boats. They thought they were saved. When they saw a person leaning on the reef on the shore, they were disappointed again. "Go in and block the door. They'll be here soon." A young man among the 10 people shouted anxiously at the person on the plateau. The 5 ships chasing after them were indeed not far away. It was estimated that they would be able to reach the shore in less than half an hour. It was still not too late to block the door under the lighthouse. However, the person standing there was completely unmoved. He turned his head to look at the 10 people and shouted, "Everyone, let's go. Don't worry about me. I'll show them my power. I'll climb up later. There's a bow at the top. You can use it. Run." The 10 people looked up at the lighthouse. Sure enough, there was a rope hanging down from the top. They turned to look at the boats chasing after them. They did not want to wait with this simple-minded person. One by one, they ran into the lighthouse and piled the things on the bottom floor at the entrance. To their regret, the lighthouse only had an entrance and no door. The 5 boats chasing after them had slowed down at this time. They looked at the lighthouse and made a choice. Should they go up or not? This was the problem. While they were hesitating, the boats were getting closer and closer to the shore. The people on the boats picked up the javelins and prepared to shoot the person standing on the plateau down when they were close enough. The javelins were almost within range, let alone the ballista. In order not to miss, Xian Guai waited and waited. Although he had never killed anyone before, he had a lot of practice. However, at that time, he used a wooden shaft and an iron head. He shot into the sea and then fished it up after he was done. Now that he was using an iron arrow, he estimated that the front part of the arrow would be similar to the wooden one, and the back part would be further away. He lifted the canvas blocking the way, and stood behind the arrow on the far left. He was ready to shoot a single shot. After aiming slightly, he moved the bayonet, and the arrow flew out with a buzz. Before the people on the boat who were preparing to use the javelins could react, they felt a cold wind blow over their heads. A puff sound came from behind them. While they were still in a daze, a second arrow flew over. This time, it did not hit the water, but the boat. With a crack, the bottom board of the boat was shot through, leaving a large hole. The area around the hole also cracked, and seawater gurgled out of the hole. A third arrow followed. This arrow was not very accurate, and it was a little too far. It hit a reef on the side of the boat. Half of the arrow went in, and the other half buzzed and trembled. At this time, the people on the boat finally knew what was flying over one after another. If this thing hit them? Run. Plug the leak, quick. The people on the boat who were shot reacted and shouted at the top of their lungs. In fact, there was no need for him to shout. The others were turning around, and the people who wanted to throw the javelins stopped thinking about it. The consequences of the javelins in their hands going against that thing were very serious. The 5 boats began to turn around as fast as they could. At this time, they regretted that they should not have rushed so close. It was also the first time they realized that the boat, which usually turned around very quickly, was too slow today. They wanted to run, but Xian Gutless did not intend to let them go so easily. The 3 arrows did not hit a single person. If he could not stop 2 people, others would laugh at him again. He put his hand on the 4th arrow and carefully aimed at it, ready to shoot. He was not afraid that the other party would run away. The 12 arrows were not finished. This was a crossbow, and they wanted to run out of the range at such a close distance? It was too late. The 10 people who were rescued had already climbed to the top, and were looking down from the windowless window. They were prepared to fight, but they didn't expect that the 5 ships would be scared away. They had never seen this kind of ballista that was specially used to attack and defend a city. They looked at the big thing in puzzlement. This is good. After they leave, we don't have to worry about being caught by them, said one of the 10 people who was holding a package tightly in his arms. Run? They can't run away. Gutless, stop shooting. Save the arrows. 1 arrow costs a lot. Remember to get it back. I won't accompany you in fishing. If you get a magnet and tie it to a rope, you might not be able to find it even after a day. The patrol boat is already here. If you continue to shoot, I will report you. The person who stayed to guard the tower first looked to the east, where the patrol boat was coming from. After seeing the shadow of a boat, he shouted to Xian Gutless. Xian Gutless resentfully took down the rest of the arrows. He put down the string and muttered unhappily, "Am I gutless? I am ready to sacrifice myself. There are only 9 arrows left. Not all of them can hit. There are so many people on the 5 boats. What is there to be afraid of? They can chop me into minced meat if they rush up." While the 2 people guarding the tower were waiting and the 10 people who had dodged the attack felt exhausted, the patrol ship rushed over with full sail. From its speed, it could be seen that not only was the ship at full sail, but the human propeller behind it was also operating at full capacity. The people guarding the tower signaled twice. Without stopping, the patrol boat rushed toward the 5 boats that had just escaped the crossbow's range, and were trying to think of a way to get back up. Don't worry. They can't run away. Do you think you can run away after causing trouble? Now tell me where you live. Tell me your birthplace. The person standing on the tower patted the oldest of the 10 people on the shoulder and asked, "Do we have to pay for it?" If I had known, I would have thought of a way to do business with the people of Luzhou's trading company. The person who was patted said, but in his heart, he began to think about how much money he would have to pay this time. The other party had specially sent a big boat here. How much would it cost? No receipt? Then you have to pay for food. Fish is the cheapest. Pork or vegetables are expensive. If you want to eat fruits, the price is even higher. The person guarding the tower took out a list from the side. It was full of the price of food. He did not care if the people could read or not. He just introduced the list to them. The 10 people did not care about what they ate. It was a great favor to be able to survive. The person holding the package in his arms asked nervously, "How much does it cost to send a boat here? And that big thing that scared the others away just now. We can't afford it if there are too many." As he spoke, he hugged the package in his arms tighter. "First, we have to see if the flag you hang is fake. If it's fake, you have to work hard because you don't have money. It's not fake. We are all from the same dynasty. Can't we get a bargain?" "Yes, it's a bargain. Are you really from Tang? Tell them your birthplace and put your fingerprint after checking. It's easy to reimburse. Don't hide it. No one will rob you. No matter how precious your things are, how much can they be sold for? The Luzhou's trading company might not take a fancy to you." The person guarding the tower said unhappily when he saw that the person was still on guard. However, the person refused to relax. "You haven't said how much it costs to be from Tang. It doesn't cost money. You're so narrow-minded. Remember to thank the imperial court first, and then thank the Luzhou's trading company. The boat came so quickly today. I thought it would take an hour for it to arrive. Take a good look at the menu. What do you want to eat?" The timid one below is a chef. He has been trained by the Sea Cloud Inn. You're in for a treat. The person guarding the tower began to write down today's events. When the shift was over, he would bring it back to the trading company to record it. The 10 of them were relieved. They did not expect that the transfer of the ship would be free, but they definitely did not believe that the person below was a coward. When they looked at him just now, he seemed to be awe-inspiring, especially when his slightly messy hair was blown by the wind. It gave people the impression that he was standing proudly in the wind, and no one could stop him. However, they still could not figure out why they did not need to pay. Is it really free? There has to be a reason, right? The person holding the package still wanted to confirm. Why are you so stupid? The people of Tang don't need money. Do you usually pay fishing tax? The right thing to do is to pay the tax. The trading company will settle the bill with the imperial court after paying the tax. The person guarding the tower had to explain. In fact, he knew that the imperial court would not pay the tax. The trading company would pay the tax themselves, and they still had to ask the imperial court for help. But the tax we pay is not enough to transfer a big boat, even once every 10 years. That's two different things. You are the people of Tang. If you pay the tax, you will be protected. Those who can pay the tax are protected. Those who can't pay the tax are protected. You don't understand. You know that you don't need to pay the tax. It's tiring. What do you want to eat? Hurry up. If you don't want to eat, I'm going up. The timid one is going to sleep. The person guarding the tower was slightly dissatisfied when he saw that the other party was not done with his questions. The 10 people did not dare to offend the other party. He should be the most authoritative person. He pointed to a line of words on the menu and asked, "What is this?" "Sauerkraut and seafood pot. It's cheap. If you have something from the sea on your boat, just bring it up. The sauerkraut, oil, and seasonings here will be 20 copper coins." The person guarding the tower looked at the words and said, 20 copper coins? Obviously, some people could not afford this price. "I'll give you 100 copper coins now. Go and find sauerkraut for me. I'll take as many as you have." It's only 2 copper coins for each of the 10 people. While they were talking, the patrol boat had caught up with the 5 boats that had escaped again. Although it was called a patrol boat, it was actually a gunboat that had just been launched. It was preparing to come here for an experiment. It happened that something happened, so it intervened. There were 16 large bronze cannons on the boat, 8 on each side. The back of the cannons was filled with rollers, and the front of the cannons were filled with gunpowder and iron balls. It was not very accurate. After firing one shot, the cannons had to be reloaded again. It was not bad to be able to fire 2 shots in a quarter of an hour. But even so, many people were full of hope for this new weapon. The iron balls could fly as far as 2 miles. After firing 8 shots, they could change direction and fire another 8 shots. At such a long distance, the other boats did not have any means to fight back. If they were hit twice, it would be easy to sink. If they fired a few more shots and were lucky enough to break the mast, then the boat would be waiting for death. At this time, it was normal to chase and attack each other for a few days in a sea battle. It was not like the time when Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were shooting torpedoes and missiles were flying everywhere. The 5 boats that had escaped were not because they knew that the enemy had cannons, but because they compared the size of the enemy's boats. If they hit the big boat, the small boats would be smashed. If there were some crossbowmen on the boat, they would be shot a few times. Run and see where you can go. The boat is a little small, so it's not easy to hit it. Try to run. Turn left and reload. With the command of the commander, the gunboat slowly adjusted its position. With the command to fire, 8 cannons fired 8 shots in the smoke and loud noise. Chapter 590. When the commander of the Zhongxing gunboat regretfully withdrew the order, "Turn the rudder to the left and prepare to ignite," Coward Xian had already made a special strange cry. As a cook, he was assigned to 3 boats to get the seafood needed for the sauerkraut and seafood pot. When he was rummaging in one of the boats and muttering which seafood was the best, the guard above the tower heard an inhuman sound and found that he, who was no longer timid when facing 5 boats alone, began to tremble all over. Something was wrong. The guard vigilantly looked at the 10 people around him and took out a shotgun from his waist. He pulled the trigger with his right thumb and took off the cover in front of it with his left hand. This was not an automatic pistol and could only shoot once. The inside was a scatter bullet. When the trigger was pulled, the trigger would be installed on a small piece of flint, and the short powder would be twisted to ignite the powder. The reaction time was not too long, and the accuracy was low. In short range, the killing radius was large and the shooting range was short. "What do you have on your boats?" The guard slightly steadied himself with the gun in hand and asked bluntly. It seemed that he would attack as long as there was something wrong. The 10 people did not know what this thing was, but when they saw it in the guard's hand, they could guess that it would cause a lot of damage to their bodies. "No, nothing." Maybe. One of the 10 people seemed to think of something. While speaking, he looked at the person who was still holding the package tightly in his arms. The person holding the package also thought of something, and his face suddenly turned ugly. There was regret, helplessness, and a trace of relief in his expression. The guard was also nervous. He aimed the gun at the 10 people. Every time he aimed at a person, that person would make a dodging gesture like Weiwei. "Did you kill the people of Tang and rob his money?" The guard finally fixed his eyes on the person holding the package. "Haha. Brother Feng, come and have a look. There is a big shell here. Judging from the traces, there should be pearls dug down. There are 2, one big and one small. Ask them if they are in the hands of the 10 people. We are going to be rich." Just when the 10 people were being interrogated by the guard, Coward Xian dragged a big shell from the boat to the shore and shouted to the guard while dragging. "Call me Brother Tian, not Brother Feng. Just bring something up." "Well, it's good that you didn't kill anyone." "I see. No wonder someone is chasing you." The guard above the tower now understood everything. He carefully put the gun back, looked at the person guarding the package, and went to the corner and sat down. His actions made the 10 people stunned. Money and silk moved people's hearts. They did not expect that when he heard that there was a big pearl, he was not in a hurry to get it. He even put away the weapon that should be very powerful. You're not going to rob it and make a fortune? A big pearl. A big pearl that can scare people to death." The most prestigious person among the 10 swallowed his saliva and asked nervously, "I want to make a fortune, but I know that if I rob it, I won't be alive to spend it. Let me see how big it is." The guard tried to calm his excitement. He saw the big shell, and he knew that the pearl was not small. If he was not a native of Luzhou and did not know the ability of the Zhang family, he would not be able to control himself and rob it. Then he would hide in the mountain and wait for a few years when no one could find him. Then he would find a way to run far away and sell the pearls. As a hunter, he was not worried about starving to death in the mountain. However, he did not dare to do that because he knew the good official too well. If it were someone else, they might not be able to defeat him in Luzhou's mountain. However, once the good official sent out the 56 people zero team, how could he hide? He was good at saving people, so he must be good at killing people. Hearing his words, the guard carefully opened the package in his arms, revealing 2 pearls, one big and one small. So big? Is it fake? What are you doing with it? Are you afraid that you won't die fast enough? The guard jumped when he saw the 2 pearls. He stared at the pearls with his eyes wide open and kept swallowing his saliva. Since he was young, he had never seen or heard of such a big pearl. The small pearl was actually the size of an egg, and the big one was the size of a goose egg. 70% was a pearl, and 80% was a treasure. Such a pearl should not appear in the world. When he looked at the reflection of the pearls, he saw the reflection moving like light. Anyone with a little knowledge would know how much the 2 pearls were worth. Basically, it was priceless. It was not worth 10,000 strings of coins, but it was not worth 1,000,000 strings of coins. It depended on how much the rich were willing to pay. Ordinary people would not even think about it. Scourge, what are you going to do with these 2 pearls? Where are you going to sell them? No one is willing to use them as medicine. An innocent man will get into trouble because of his wealth. Put them away. I don't want to look at them. The more I look at them, the more scared I am. The guard shook his head and sighed for the 10 people. What could they do if they could not protect it? The 10 people also showed a difficult expression. If the pearls in the big shell could be smaller and more, then it would be good. But there were 2 big pearls. Could it be that they did not want them when they encountered them? If the pearls were so big that ordinary people did not dare to be greedy, then they were not treasures. They were life-threatening things. If the color was a little dimmer and a little flatter, then it would be good. How about grinding them into powder and selling them? The person holding the pearls asked in a low voice. What's the difference between them and ordinary pearls? How much do you want to sell them for? I'll ask a good official for you. Perhaps only he has the ability to buy these things and protect them. You don't have to count on anyone else. Or you can directly send them to the capital and give them to the emperor. The guard had already lost interest in the 2 big pearls. When he first saw them, he still wanted to have them. But after thinking about it carefully, that idea could not be born again. The most prestigious of the 10 people heard his words and shook his head, saying, Is the emperor someone you can see just because you want to? If you ask someone else for help, I guess the 10 of us and you will all die. Don't drag me into this. If you want to die, just die. I won't die. As long as I am still the lighthouse of the Luzhou Chamber of Commerce, no one will dare to do anything to me. When the patrol ship comes back, I'll ask them to bring a letter back and see if the good official is willing to buy them. You can name a price. The guard of the tower was not worried about his personal safety. The whole Luzhou was an iron bucket, and outsiders could not interfere at all. Even the new officials were very honest. Won't the patrol ship be greedy? No, they are more timid than me because they know the good official better. The guard of the tower was not worried that the patrol ship had designs on the pearls because there were still people from the Zhang family and the Wang family on the ship. Before the patrol ship came back, the timid Xian ran up in a hurry. When he saw the 2 big pearls, he swallowed the words he was about to say. Just now, he had found traces on the shell and knew there were big pearls, but that speculation and seeing it with his own eyes were 2 different things. Brother Feng, it's so big. Ah. Wait, I'm going to strangle the crossbow. It's killing people. After a while, the timid Xian said in a trembling voice and turned to leave. Stop, the patrol ship will be back soon. Don't strangle the crossbow. Go and cook sauerkraut, seafood pot, and cook ribs. Since you saw such big pearls, let's celebrate. Remember, call me Brother Tian in the future. The guard of the tower stopped him and gave him an order. Okay, Brother Feng, I'll go and let them taste the dishes. The timid Xian left happily to cook, leaving the 11 people waiting in silence. Before the meal was ready, the patrol boats escorted the people on the 5 boats back. Without the need for the people on the tower to explain, they already knew what was going on. The people on the 5 boats were not from other countries. They were from Jiao province. They were carrying goods and were about to come here to trade. However, on the way, they saw a big shell being fished up by people on 3 small boats. They came closer to have a chat. Everyone knew that there would be big pearls in the shell. When they saw the big pearls, the people on the 5 ships were tempted. The people on the 3 ships also realized that something was wrong. They immediately found a reason to leave and stopped talking to the people on the 5 ships. In the beginning, the people on the 5 ships were still in a daze, waiting for the 3 small boats to leave. Finally, they could not resist the impulse in their hearts and chased after them. Because there were many goods on the ships, they could not speed up for a while. They had no choice but to throw the goods into the sea and gradually shorten the distance. It was the first time they came here, and they did not expect there to be a lighthouse here. The people on the lighthouse were so responsible and equipped with powerful weapons. After they tried to kill people to get ashore, they were thinking of a way when they were caught by the patrol ship. Originally, the 2 ships were not on the same level. With the 8 water columns, the only choice was to surrender. The patrol ship could not directly approach the shore. They could only stop on the sea and send a small boat to the lighthouse to ask about the matter. A total of 3 people came down. 2 of them were from the inner courtyard left by the Zhang family. They were in charge of the new weapon experiment. When the 3 of them saw the 2 big pearls, the people who were not from the inner courtyard opened their mouths wide in shock. They muttered that they had not lived in vain and had learned something new. Although the people from the inner courtyard of the Zhang family were also surprised, they recovered very quickly. The 2 of them looked at each other and said at the same time, "This time the little ancestors have something fun to play with." They really did not care about such big pearls. They were usually in contact with immortals, so it was not a big deal to look at a pearl. If these 2 pearls were given to the 4 little ancestors to play with, they would definitely be very happy. The pearls were beautiful. "How much? Name a price," one of the inner courtyard people asked directly. The 10 owners of the pearls did not expect the other party to be so straightforward. For a moment, they were stunned and did not say anything. When they did not say anything, the other inner courtyard person said, "How about this? You all go with Lu Zhou first. When the pearls are delivered to the main family, we'll tell you the price or use other benefits to exchange with you. Don't worry, the main family won't scheme against you for these 2 pearls. If you want to snatch them, you can do it now." After the 2 of them finished speaking, they returned to the ship and waited. They let the 10 people choose for themselves. The 2 of them had more important things to do, which was to collect data and study the use of cannons in naval battles. The 10 of them ate an unknown meal and drank some wine. In their days, they finally decided to trust the Zhang family. Apart from the Zhang family, it seemed like no one else would treat them this way. When the spring plowing in Shuzhou began in advance, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan finally received the 2 big pearls and a document about cannons sent by Lu Zhou on a fast horse. The 2 of them sent the small pearl to Old Man Pai and the other 3 for them to see. They threw the big pearl to their younger siblings' room and let the little ones play with it. The big pearls were good. The magnetism in such a big pearl was greater. It was said that it was good for the body and had a calming effect. Seeing the little ones holding the big pearls in their arms and drooling so much on them, one could tell how much the little ones liked them. It would be even better if they were ground into powder and eaten. You can also use it on your face. What should we do with the 10 of them? Wang Wan touched her tender face and asked Zhang Xiaobao. First, give them a few hundred strings of coins to settle down, and bring them to Shuzhou. Ask them what they want. 2 pearls. 1 for your family to eat, and the other 1 for Xiaobei and the others to play with. It's translucent and pretty. Zhang Xiaobao really did not care. The big pearls now were like the diamonds in his past life. A diamond that was too big was not as valuable as divided into smaller pieces. Its social value was not based on its size. If it was not cut, There was no difference between a 2-ton diamond and a 1-ton diamond. It was the same for pearls. Moreover, pearls could not be cut and polished like diamonds for decoration. One was for collection, and the other was to be made into medicinal materials. Giving 10 people a long-term way to make money was better than giving them a large sum of money directly. Wang Wan was satisfied with Zhang Xiaobao's arrangement. In this way, she would have good pearl powder cosmetics. Even if she did not use it now, she could wipe her hands and feel it. Thinking about it was one thing, but things could not be done like this. Xiaobao, you want to keep all the pearls. Don't you plan to give one to Li Longji? If he knows there are such pearls, he will definitely get sick. It happens that the kind of illness that needs pearls to treat. The effect of looking for big pearls when he is sick is not the same as giving it to him now. Yes, it's understandable. Who would expect such a big pearl to be uneasy? If you want to use it to suppress the shock, then give the small one to him. We can't snatch Xiaobei and the others' toys. Later we will ask Grandpa Bai and the others if it's okay. Let's go and see how Xiaobei and the others are playing. Zhang Xiaobao sighed with emotion about the benefits of being an emperor. As he spoke, he walked with Wang Wan to the courtyard of his younger brother and sister. On the way, he said, "Artificial pearl cultivation is to pick up the shells, choose the ones that can grow big in the future, and then put sand in them, right? Let their secretions be wrapped layer by layer. It should also depend on which one secretes more. Do you want to cultivate pearls?" Wang Wan was not sure. She only knew that the pearls at that time would not be very good. They would be very cheap. They were not round and small. You could buy a pile of them with 10 yuan. How could I? I'm just letting others try. In case they succeed, there is Lake Tai here. Zhang Xiaobao thought of using pearls as medicine. Pearls were too expensive now. They could not afford to eat medicine. If they could be cultivated, then it would not be as difficult as it was now. As the two of them talked, they arrived outside the courtyard of the little guys. Before they entered, they saw 4 old men standing there with helpless expressions. "Grandpa Bai, what's wrong with you guys? You don't look good. Get someone to take a look." Zhang Xiaobao asked with concern. "It's nothing. It's just that seeing the little guys having fun there made me happy," Old Man Pai said with a pained expression. Chapter 591. The matter of the 2 pearls was just a small matter. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan wouldn't spend their energy on such luxurious things. It didn't have much meaning to their philosophy of life. They believed that Old Man Pai and the other 3 wouldn't care about how much the pearls were worth. The quality of the large pearl was good, and Xiaobei hadn't broken it yet. After a few words, the younger one decided to send it to Li Longji. It would probably be used as medicine in the capital. It was said that old pearls had sufficient medicinal power. They picked up the pearl that Xiaobei had thrown and spun it on the marble floor. The brilliance of the 2 reflected each other for a long time. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan saw that the children were having a good time, so they looked for the 4 old men to discuss the Yangtze River Bridge. "Grandpa Bai, do you think we can collect tolls from people at the bridge? Usually it costs money to take the ferry. Since it's convenient to take the bridge, it's not too much to pay less." The first thing that Zhang Xiaobao raised was money. The bridge needed to be repaired, and the account that was going through now was Wangjiang Building. It was part of the local government's functions, and was incorporated into the finances of Wangjiang County. Old Man Pai and the other 3 were no longer people who didn't know much about economics like when they first met Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. When they heard Zhang Xiaobao mention money, they hesitated and said, "Xiaobao, there are so many people coming and going on the bridge. It will definitely promote the local economic development and increase the tax revenue. It seems reasonable to take a portion of it for maintenance. Why should we collect more money? In that case, we won't collect it. I hope that the officials of Wangjiang County won't embezzle this money in the future. They will pay for it every year. The second thing is the people who ferry the Yangtze River. With the bridge, the people in the distance will still take the ferry, while the people nearby will cross the bridge. It won't be easy for the people who ferry." Zhang Xiaobao raised another matter. When a new industry developed, it would definitely have an impact on the related old models. People who had been ferrying for many years should find other things to do. This was not something that the people in power should do to the people. An official who sacrificed the interests of a portion of the people to obtain a certain economic development was an incompetent official. Don't treat the people as data on paper. They are living people. The four old men frowned at the same time. If the bridge could be repaired, then it must be repaired. A bridge was much more convenient than ferrying goods and people back and forth. They couldn't tear down the bridge just because of the ferrymen. Directly giving money to the ferrymen didn't seem right, so what should they arrange for them to do? Zhang Xiaobao didn't need the four old men to figure it out themselves. He naturally had a solution for the problem that he proposed. Grandpa Bai, my family's idea is to divide this group of people into 3 parts to solve the problem. On the one hand, we'll pull iron chains along the bridge piers. 2 iron chains will allow the ferry to hang on them, eliminating the danger of the ferry being washed over. On the bridge piers in the middle of the river, we'll use wood to build a view of the river. If there are people who like to enjoy the scenery there, they'll pay people to ferry them there. The second part is to make pleasure boats on the distributary river. We'll let the ferrymen work together and buy or rent large boats to them first. The distributary river isn't so turbulent, and we can solve a group of people. The third part is to cooperate with Wangjiang Restaurant. Every day, we'll catch fish in the river and sell them to Wangjiang Restaurant. Or, we'll directly take orders from Wangjiang Restaurant. With the 3-pronged approach, the people who originally lived on this section of the Yangtze River will have a new way to survive. Zhang Xiaobao explained the arrangement for the people who had lost their jobs and waited for the 4 old men to figure it out. Old Man Lu and the others weren't stupid. When they heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, they understood that there was no need to tell them this kind of thing. The Zhang family could do it themselves. Since it was solemnly proposed, it could only mean one thing. They had to remember this kind of method. In the future, if they wanted to develop elsewhere, they couldn't forget the people who lived on the original way. Old Man Yao nodded and said, "We already know what Xiaobao said. This year's spring plowing is early. There are a few bad places in the area that don't seem to have white fold seed. Could it be that it can't be planted here?" Last winter's cotton-padded clothes and quilts played a big role. This year, it was said that many places that originally planted hemp had changed to white fold seed. Compared to the delicate food crops, white fold seed was very adaptable to the soil. The oil extracted from it could also be used to light lamps. It was a very good, economic crop. Other than Old Man Lu, the other 3 old men were already used to the way the Zhang family did things. At the beginning of every year, Zhang Zhong would make a plan. There were detailed descriptions and clear diagrams. They had seen the plan for Shuzhou this year. Every place was specifically divided into what should be done. There was no white fold seed in the plan. This was what they couldn't understand, so they asked. Zhang Xiaobao's planning was the clearest. His planning was not done blindly. It was done by the local officials who first sent over a plan based on the specific form of the place. They also sent over detailed data at the same time. Through modification, approval, and denial, it was perfected. After hearing the question, Zhang Xiaobao replied, "Grandpa Yao, my family also knows that white fold seed is more profitable and can increase the income of the people. However, Shuzhou definitely can't be planted now. Shuzhou is a food production area, and it has the water transportation from the Yangtze River and the canal. The food in the capital is estimated to still not be enough this year, so we need to transfer it from this route. White fold seed is good, but it's a waste to plant it in such a place. Shuzhou not only pursues economic development, but also needs to ensure the emergency supply of food in the capital. It's fine to plant it in the cold and saline land. If the land here isn't good, then plant soybeans." Wang Wan also added, "The output of white fold seed is low. It can't be compared to hemp. Shuzhou doesn't need to use cotton-padded clothes and quilts. It's enough to make paper and weave fishing nets with hemp. If we unilaterally pursue the profit of a certain economic crop, there won't be any changes to the income and expenditure. If we don't have enough hemp, we still have to buy it from other places." The 4 old men paid attention to the Zhang family. At the same time, the 3 old men were often with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Otherwise, ordinary people really wouldn't understand what the 2 of them said. Now the two of them were using a planned economy. When transportation and productivity couldn't increase, a market economy couldn't be used. Besides, Zhang Xiaobao didn't like the market economy model. The reason why a planned economy became a market economy wasn't that the planned economy wasn't good, but that with the increase of business activities, people couldn't perfect the plan. Now business activities were still relatively simple. If they used a market economy, it would be over. Old Man Bai and Old Man Yao were actually learning nonstop. Those who were closely involved could not see clearly. They did not have the experience of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, so they were moving forward by themselves. No one knew if it was right or wrong. Hearing Zhang Xiaobao and Old Man Pai's words, Old Man Pai thought and asked, "Should we learn this method in other places? There should be a model, right? How about this? You can summarize it and print it in a book and send it to the officials of the dynasty." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan shook their heads at the same time. There was a model, but the model was always changing. Not to mention now, even in their time, no one dared to say which model was the best. The so-called best was to adapt to the economic and political environment of the time. Grandpa Bai, if we really write a book, there are several models. Just like the art of war, soldiers are unpredictable, and water is unpredictable. Grandpa Bai, you know how to ride the two-wheeled carriage that we made. It's not a straight line, it's a wandering between left and right to seek stability. It's not left, right and not in the middle. It's the same for economics. It wasn't that Zhang Xiaobao couldn't write, as long as he turned his own experience and other people's experience into words. However, he was afraid that people would take what he wrote as a doctrine. If they did well they should, but if they didn't, they would push all the blame to him. Then is there no other way? Old Man Yao felt very regretful when he heard this. He felt that the Zhang family's development model was the same, which was to take out money to build the infrastructure. It was reasonable to match the local environment and crops. It wasn't too difficult. Wang Wan saw Old Man Yao's expression and knew what he was thinking. He had thought too simply of the matter. She explained, "Grandpa Yao, when other people take out the things that they have done, it's actually the same. The general situation is about the same. It's just like marching to war. It's nothing more than gathering the superior forces to annihilate a small number of enemies. Think of a way to prevent the enemy from hitting you, and you can hit the enemy. However, when it comes to the use of strategy and tactics in a real war, it's not the same at all. The grasp of the general situation, the understanding of the local area, the time difference, the environment, the terrain and so on are all indispensable. The details determine success or failure." "Oh, I'm anxious. Isn't it because your family can make the place develop faster? I hope to find a good way to make the entire Tang Empire stronger. Is there no other way?" Old Man Yao was a person who had been prime minister several times. He reacted very quickly and did a self-examination. He didn't want to give up. Looking at the eyes of the four old men, Zhang Xiaobao sighed. "It's difficult. Since it's to rule people by people, it depends on the ability of the officials. But the most difficult thing to grasp is the human heart. I'll write it and let the officials learn. Come, bring me the plan of Shuzhou from my yard." After saying this, Zhang Xiaobao began to wait. He took the opportunity to play with the little guys for a while. In fact, the little guys didn't care about what to play. What they cared about was who played with them. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were their biggest attachments. As long as there were big brothers and big sisters by their side, they would be happy. After the big pearl was turned around again and again, the plan was finally brought over. Compared with the dozens of sheets of paper that the four old men saw before, this plan was much thicker. There were hundreds of sheets of paper. Since the new year, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had been busy with this matter. Spreading out the plan, Zhang Xiaobao took out a copy and said, "This is what the four grandpas saw." He put down this copy and took out another one. Then he said, "This is the supplementary plan." Then he took out another one. "This is the emergency plan. This is the side plan that can be used when something happens. It's not easy to make a development plan. All the risks must be taken into consideration and then improved and supplemented. When learning officials are making plans, they are not allowed to have only one plan, but a set. Otherwise, it will be a dereliction of duty. This was the first time the four old men had seen a detailed plan. They finally understood why Zhang Zhong could handle local affairs so smoothly. It had nothing to do with luck. It was actually paved with painstaking effort. It was no wonder that the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang families were not afraid of encountering difficulties. That was because they had written down all the possible difficulties that could arise. Furthermore, they had the corresponding methods. An expert. He's indeed an expert. Old Man Chang was the worst in this aspect compared to the other three. If he were to write such a plan, he felt that he would die of exhaustion. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not say anything. They only smiled in gratification. However, they sought merit, not publicity. Old Man Pai touched the plans one by one. He looked up and said, "Xiaobao, your father shouldn't go to Luoyang next time." Chapter 592. The matter of Zhang Zhong's next official position was indeed not easy to handle. According to Zhang Xiaobao's idea, he wanted to go to a slightly more leisurely place and spend more energy on political struggles, thus helping his father practice. Old Man Pai and the other three planned to send Zhang Zhong and Wang family to a poor place to continue to do construction. Zhang Xiaobao had already paid the due price for this matter. So he was very insistent and did not agree to send his father to a poor place to be an official. Old Man Pai wanted to use an empty position to make up for the lack of rank. After arguing for a long time, Zhang Xiaobao could only temporarily put this matter on hold, saying that this matter needed to be discussed with his family first. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan found an excuse to leave, Old Man Pai was still persuading the two to discuss it with their families. In order to divert the attention of the four old men, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had to use other methods to attract their attention. First of all, the kindergarten reopened. After the new year, everyone would gather together to live and study again. Just like last year, ordinary people would not be able to enjoy this kind of treatment. Those who could enter the kindergarten were either from a rich family or a powerful family. Unfortunately, this was very different from the original intention of setting up the kindergarten. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao were also very helpless about this matter. It was not that the two of them did not want to give all the children of other families a chance, but it was really that the teachers were too lacking. Kindergarten was different from school. School only needed people with similar knowledge to be qualified. Kindergarten teachers did not need to be too knowledgeable, but they must know how to take care of children. It seemed simple, but it was difficult to actually do. Children were unable to directly understand the intentions of adults, and were usually self-centered. Zhang Xiaobao's method was to nurture them, one by one. He would try his best to find talents who were suitable for educating children. The way to divert the attention of the four old men was to have the children from kindergarten last year compete with other children who had not received such education when school reopened. For many people, this was a very boring thing to do. What could the children compete? Singing and dancing as well as drawing and reciting. However, this kind of boring thing was to the liking of the four old men. Old Man Lu even specially left half a month to organize activities with the other three old men, in order to see the educational effects of the kindergarten. Zhang Xiaobao came up with a plan that was full of loopholes. For example, the age of the children in the competition would start from 1 year old, and continue until they were 6 years old. This was simply impossible. How could a 1-year-old child learn so many things? The four old men thought the same. So they had one more job, which was to perfect the plan and further develop the kindergarten's education. They hoped that more children would be able to participate in the future. Of course, they couldn't let the four old men spend too much time and energy on this kind of thing. After a few adjustments, they were almost done. Just when they felt that they had perfected the plan, Zhang Xiaobao changed the location of the competition to Hidden Mountain. Qianshan was where Li Sun's business was located. It had been under construction since last year, and some animals had been transported from other places. Together with the animals that were collected locally, although it could not be compared to the National Zoo, it was more lively. With Ernia's large amount of wheat rice stones, a large bathing pool, or rather a bathing center, was about to be built there. A few doctors were specially sent to know. Old Man Pai and the other three also followed. As for whether the bathing effect could reach the level of strengthening the body, or even bringing the dead back to life, further research was needed. Finally, it's quiet. It seems that it's not a good thing to be watched by others. Without the four old men, Wang Wan felt a little uncomfortable, but she also felt more relaxed. Otherwise, every time they met, she would have to ask where Zhang Zhong was going to be an official. It was really torturous. Zhang Xiaobao also did not have to continue to be entangled with the four old men. As long as he took advantage of the spring plowing this year to come up with one or several useful new plans that could improve the local people's living standards, he believed that the imperial court would not be in a hurry to transfer his father away. I really hope that someone comes to make trouble now. That way, I will have an excuse to deal with them, and let my father stay in Shuzhou until next year. No matter what, I have to expand my family's business first. I can't just build it up and not get any benefits. Zhang Xiaobao tried hard to think of a way to make the imperial court give up on the idea of transferring his father away this year. Hearing Zhang Xiaobao's words, Wang Wan looked to the north, which was the direction of the capital, and asked, "The river embankment incident last year has not been settled yet. Who was it? Why didn't the imperial court say anything?" According to Li Longji's character, no matter which member of the imperial family it was, he would not let it go easily. Why is it like a stone sinking into the sea? Indeed, there has been no movement until now. No member of the imperial family in the capital has been dealt with. This matter is not handled by us, so it will probably be a little difficult. Do you think that a neighboring country is involved? They don't want to act rashly and alert the enemy. Zhang Xiaobao thought about it and said. Wang Wan nodded. It's also possible. If I had the chance, I would also do the same. Use the local resources to carry out the operation, and it won't have much impact on the country. If it can be done in every region, the damage to the target country will be very great. This kind of thing is not something we can manage. Even if it is true, there will be people who will help. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's consideration was indeed good. In order to stay in Shuzhou for one more year, they set aside some people during the spring plowing to build a large research base by the Wanshui River. The main research direction was on the lathe. The two people were not ready to succeed in the research of the lathe. The technology was far from there. This was just a reason to boast about the lathe to make people pay more attention to it, so that Zhang Zhong could stay in Shuzhou to take charge of this work. In order to make people believe, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan invested 50,000 strings of coins to start the industrial construction. The scale was not small. The old man Pai and the other three people who were still busy in Qianshan were indeed fooled. They were already very busy, so they had to set aside some energy again. Lu Jiro was the most concerned about this industrial base. She arranged the people she brought to the industrial park to provide help, and at the same time, to learn. At the same time, she also informed the imperial court of the situation here, so that the imperial court would consider more. Zhang Xiaobao's scam finally achieved its goal. He was afraid that the imperial court would transfer his father away, so another plan followed closely, and that was the medicinal herb plantation in Shuzhou. No matter what kind of medicinal herbs could be planted, and no matter how successful it was in the end, it had a reputation. He asked his father to write a memorial to the imperial court to transfer people from the Sea-Known Temple in the capital to follow the research, and the Zhang family would send people to lead. This was also a big project. It seemed that without Zhang Zhong, it would not succeed. Sure enough, this had an effect. For a while, the imperial court did not mention the matter of Zhang Zhong leaving, and the four people of Old Man Pai also put their energy in other places. Zhang Xiaobao did not feel that this matter was a waste of money and manpower. The money was not from the government. His family paid others to do the research. If the research was not successful in 1 year, then they would research for 2 years. If 2 years were not enough, then they would research for 10 years. He did not expect to get good results in a short time, as long as he could delay it. By the time the imperial court found out that this was a long and arduous task, his family's arrangements would be almost done. This situation was not considered a scam when he and Wang Wan were in the same situation. The technology was indeed enough, and someone had already done it. Now, it was not a scam. The money was from his family, and there was not much negative impact on the people and the government. The plan was indeed going well. The spring plowing was over, and no one mentioned the matter of Zhang Zhong leaving, even though many people wanted to take advantage of Xuzhou. Li Xin was also very happy. He was also busy looking for talents who could help with the construction and organization of the affairs of the prince's mansion after he left. He wanted to leave as well. Firstly, he wanted to continue learning from Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Secondly, he wanted to run away from the marriage. Yes, he wanted to run away from the marriage. Other members of the imperial family had several children at his age. He was not married yet, but his father had already started looking for a wife for him. However, due to the influence of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he was not going to let his father make the arrangements. He wanted to find a woman he was satisfied with and marry her. She might not be as good as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who were almost inhuman, but she should at least be as good as Xian Er's ability to earn money or Lu Er's knowledge. In fact, Xian Er and Lu Er were not bad, especially Xian Er. Their family conditions were compatible, but because they had been in contact with each other too much, Li Xin always felt that there was not that kind of passion. Moreover, Xian Er was still young. According to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's theory, it was not good for a woman at her age to get married and have children. Li Xin planned to look for one elsewhere. At the very least, he had to have a good impression of her. She had to be dignified and have time to study. Her family background could be different, but at the very least, she had to have the same hobbies and thoughts as him. She could not be so rigid. This was the goal he set. He thought it was easy to achieve, but Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan thought it was very difficult, especially in terms of thinking. It was like a person who came back from studying abroad, and a person who grew up in a closed environment had to have the same thoughts. Not to mention which one was better, there would definitely be a gap between the two people. In order not to hurt Li Sun, the two of them specially made a plan for Li Sun, including the training of his wife. Li Sun was very grateful. He thought that training his wife was very interesting, especially after hearing the various stories that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan specially told for his family. In the stories, there was a certain noble prince who deliberately hid his identity and went elsewhere to find the princess in his heart. The various plans in Xuzhou were carried out, making the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family much more stable. Just as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan believed that things would develop according to their plans, a new piece of news suddenly came from the imperial court. The human heart was hard to fathom, and Li Longji's thoughts were even harder for the average person to fathom. In addition, several important ministers in the imperial court added fuel to the fire. Zhang Zhong was finally unable to continue staying in Xuzhou. Even Zhang Xiaobao's early efforts had gone to waste. Xiaobao, it looks like your father won't be able to go to Luoyang. This was the first thing Old Man Pai, who had rushed back from Qianshan, said when he saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Facing Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's puzzled gazes, Old Man Pai continued, "The new place has been decided. Your father will be going to Yizhou to be the provincial governor." "Where? Sichuan?" Zhang Xiaobao said in surprise. Chapter 593. Receiving the news in advance made Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan very passive. They hurried back to the courtyard and found the military map. It's a good place. The whole prefecture has a population of about 4,000. There are mountains and rivers. Zhang Xiaobao found the location on the map and looked at the notes beside it. He gritted his teeth and praised. Wang Wan was also a little confused. She drew on the map and said, "The most important thing is that we don't have to worry about cold drinks in summer. We can get them when we go up the mountain. Min Mountain is to the north. Do you remember this place? I like the snow on Min Mountain even more. Also, it's close to Juzhegu. We don't need to spend money to go there now." In that case, Li Longji is not bad. He knows that the land route is difficult, so he chose a water route for us. We can go up the Yangtze River and directly reach the place. We don't have to pay rent and taxes to the capital. We have to eat 300 pounds of food on the way to the place. But I'm puzzled. Is Li Longji stupid? Why did he transfer us to Yingzhou at this time? We can get a prefecture where the rent and taxes are doubled in a year. There are about 4,000 people there, and it's a plateau climate. Does he want to see if our medical team is qualified? Zhang Xiaobao couldn't figure out what Li Longji wanted to do. Even if he wanted to use people as tools, he should put them in a more suitable place. Now that they were sent to Yingzhou, they couldn't play the full role of the Zhang family. Could it be that he wanted to lead the 4,000 people to become rich? Wang Wan was also worried. She was worried about the climate there. From morning to night, there was a big temperature difference, and there were many mountains. It was very normal for it to be humid. In addition, it was easy to experience altitude sickness. Thinking of this, Wang Wan asked nervously, Xiaobao, is it possible that Li Longji is going to kill people? He sent us there so that we can't adapt to altitude sickness and directly die in Yingzhou. This way, he won't have to worry about us making more things in the future. He's not that muddle-headed. It's easy to kill people. He arranged for my father to be an official in Yaozhou, which is close to the capital. He could just send troops to kill him. Why would he arrange for him to be sent to Yingzhou? He probably had some difficulties as well. Why don't we go over and take a look? We don't have any medicine for altitude sickness. If you don't know how to make Tibetan roseroot, don't even think about making the rest of the herbs. You still have to make a pressure cooker. Otherwise, you'll have to eat fried and barbecued food. Think about it. Since we're going there, we have to go there and take a look. We can't die from altitude sickness. Zhang Xiaobao thought of his family. Fortunately, they were still in Yizhou. If they were sent to Tibet, it would be even worse. The only thing he could comfort himself with was that the place where his family used to live was also a plateau. Although it was relatively low, he was afraid that the little ones would not be able to adapt. So we have to go? There was still butter tea and salvia miltiariza pills to use. Should he make a sealed jar, put the person in it, and then suck the air out bit by bit, just like sucking the air out of a light bulb? Let a low pressure form inside? Let's train in advance, Wang Wan asked. Go. Isn't it just a small population? Don't be afraid. That place is where the mountains are high and the emperor is far away. We have prepared enough medicine, but we don't need to train. The equipment is not easy to make. Zhang Xiaobao really did not believe in this. Wasn't it just a place that was a little remote, with poor conditions and a small population? When Wang Wan saw that Zhang Xiaobao had made up his mind, she put away the map and suddenly thought of a very important matter. Xiaobao, the people there don't seem to be easy to deal with. It's okay. Ethnic issues are not a problem. As long as they eat, as long as they wear clothes, as long as they are not sick, we can communicate with them. In the beginning, there were no ethnic groups. They were just 8 people who lived in various places. If we were to calculate based on regions, then where was the Central Plains? It's just a small place. Zhang Xiaobao was not concerned about a certain ethnic group. Instead, he was concerned about how to develop when he arrived at the place. It seemed that it was not so easy. After the two of them finished their discussion, they looked for Old Man Pai and gave him a reply. It seemed like Li Longji had the same idea. Otherwise, he would not have released the news. Grandpa Bai, my family agrees. Let's go to Wing Province. However, Wing Province is a lower province. My father's grade. Zhang Xiaobao began to make his request when he saw the 4 old men. Old Man Pai and the others thought that the Zhang family and the Wang family would think of a way to refuse. They did not expect them to agree so quickly. After calculating the situation there, he said, Xiaobao, don't worry. When you're there, your father will still be in charge of the military and political affairs. Moreover, there will be a higher rank. He can only be promoted and won't be demoted. Zhang Xiaobao pursed his lips. There were only about 4,000 people in total, and they might not be able to control them. Were they not going to integrate the military and political affairs? Were they going to send another registrar to the army? Were they going to give him all the other positions? He reckoned that when he arrived, he would only see a few officials who were sent away. That place was even more dangerous than Luzhou. The officials who were sent away had a slim chance of survival. Zhang Xiaobao was depressed that he did not get the benefits he deserved in exchange for the recipe. He had to mention this. If he did not mention it, he would be worried. Grandpa Bai, let me make this clear. That place is different from other places. My family will need to bring a lot of refined iron this time. Otherwise, we won't even be able to make farming tools. Also, if the price of salt in the local wells is too high in the future, my family will have to choose a salt pool near the estuary of the Yangtze River. We won't be stopped when we transport salt to Wing Province. Sure. As long as your family can fix the road there and build a 4-lane road to the capital, it'll be a great contribution. This time, Old Man Yao was the one who made the promise. He was still looking forward to fixing the road. Don't. My family doesn't want this great contribution. We can't afford it. Grandpa Yao, you don't know what's going on there, right? I really want to fix that road. I'll invest all the money my family earns every year. After 30 to 50 years, I might be able to build a road that can take 2 carriages from there to the capital. But what's the use of that? The purpose of road repair is to facilitate transportation and make the place rich. If my family earns 30 years of profit, it's better to give the money directly to the locals. It won't be used much every year. When the day comes that the road needs to be repaired, someone will naturally find a way. Zhang Xiaobao was shocked by Old Man Yao's words. He was very clear about the situation there. If they used stones to repair it, it would be damaged after a few heavy rains. If they used cement, it was not suitable. There was no asphalt. Wasn't it cheating people? Why not build a 4-lane road from Sichuan to Tibet? The contribution was greater. If they crossed the Himalayas and built a 4-lane road, they could directly connect to Nepal. Maybe it would be convenient for international exchanges. Nonsense. Zhang Xiaobao's straightforward answer made the 4 old men feel inconceivable. Didn't the Zhang family and Wang family like to build roads very much? Wherever the Zhang family and Wang family were, they would help to build the road first. Why were they so timid when it came to Wing Province? Xiaobao, does your family have any plans for Wing Province? Ever since Lu Jiro saw the construction plan for Shuzhou, she was interested in this matter. Yes, my family's first plan is how to get there alive. For grandpas, this is not becoming an honorable official. It's no different from being banished. How difficult would it be to go upstream along the Yangtze River? We can't give up on the waterway and take the land route. That would be even worse. Zhang Xiaobao expressed the dissatisfaction in his heart. If it made people feel relaxed, perhaps they could send him to Mo next time. It would be more convenient to make ice lanterns there. Zhang Xiaobao expressed his intentions clearly and hurried back to the courtyard with Wang Wan to make arrangements. The 4 old men stood in place, not knowing what to say. Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao had previously agreed to arrange for Zhang Zhong to go to Luoyang, and even took his prescription. Now that the situation had changed, they felt guilty when facing Xiaobao and Cuckoo. After returning to the courtyard, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't stay idle. They were about to leave. Li Longji probably couldn't wait until tomorrow, or else he wouldn't have sent the news now. It was very likely that the appointment would come in the summer. The business here hadn't been set up yet. They had to recoup their investment first. Even if they had to leave, they had to first stabilize the business in Shuzhou. When they reached Wing Province, they would need to build roads, but not roads to the capital. They would need to build roads to Chengdu, which would cost a lot of money. Zhang Xiaobao was hoping to take out the profits from Shuzhou. Taking out a business map of Shuzhou, Zhang Xiaobao pointed to a place. Here, build a leather processing plant. When the local people raise pigs, they will gather the pig hides here for processing. In the counties, build processing plants for sausages, ham, and bacon. The sausages will be sent to nearby places, and the ham and bacon will be sold further away. The pig's hair will also be left behind to be used to make brushes. The poultry's hair will also be left behind. When the time comes, it will be sent to Sanshui County to be processed into down jackets and duvets. What else haven't you thought of? Help me think about it. It's too urgent. There are also fish and crabs raised in sets. Although it's to increase rice production, we can't waste it. The meat will be dried, and the corresponding processing plant will be built. The shells and bones will be ground into powder and mixed with other crops to be fodder. We can send it to the Yangtze River, which is the south bank. I believe that they will be willing to cooperate with us. In addition to the local business activities, should we send a few boats to go up the river and make arrangements in advance? There are 2 big families, not to mention Grandpa Bai and the others. Wang Wan followed suit. At the same time, she also acted as a secretary and wrote down what they thought of. Yes, we have to send people out first. It's not easy to travel on the waterway, so we don't have to use the MOF if we can. Send 20 people out from Team 0 to get used to the weather first. It's best to find more people before we leave. We can't just have Team 0. Since it's far away from Beijing and this place is special, we should expand the protection team. Zhang Xiaobao didn't want to suffer losses. If there was an opportunity to make up for the losses, he would use it. Chapter 594. The fleet of the Zhang family and Wang family went up against the mighty river. Li Sun's fleet followed closely behind. Li Sun ran to the main ship of the Zhang family and Wang family to stay. Old Man Yao, Old Man Pai, and Old Man Chang were also there. Old Man Lu took the collected information and left some people from the Ministry of Works to continue the research before returning. It wasn't that the main ship of the Zhang family had a good view, but that it was the safest place, especially Li Sun. Even after being told that he might fall ill, he still insisted on traveling. Usually, when he could see Zhang Xiaobao, he would stay beside him. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were busy, they would bring along 2 doctors. After the fleet traveled for 3 days, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan finally realized that something was wrong. Along the way, there were other ships joining Old Man Bai and Old Man Yao's fleet. None of the ships were small, and from the looks of it, they were very deep in the water. The fleet of the Zhang family and Wang family was large to begin with. It wasn't because they wanted to make a scene, but because they had a lot of people. In addition, they also carried a lot of goods. Along the way, they had already attracted the attention of others. The ships upstream didn't need to be reminded and automatically made way for them, afraid of conflict. The sun was shining brightly and the river breeze was whistling. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were flying kites with their younger brother and sister, another 4 ships that were waiting by the side joined the fleet. What do you mean? Have they been influenced by our personality and are preparing to follow us? Wang Wan raised her clairvoyance and stared at the 4 ships that didn't have any flags or symbols. In the past few days, 22 ships had joined, and they were all large ships. They were deep in the water, but no one came to greet them. Zhang Xiaobao tied a small kite rope to his younger brother's waist and signaled the servant girl to take him to play. He also looked at the ships in puzzlement. There's no unspoken rule that ships must travel in groups on the Yangtze River, right? The ship also looks awkward. It doesn't look like a military ship, and it doesn't look like a cargo ship. It seems to be a dual-purpose ship. Let's go and find someone to ask. The 2 of them went to look for Li Sun with confusion in their hearts. Li Sun was playing mahjong with Lu, Xian and Wei Wei. He was not as skilled as Zhang Xiaobao, and his opponents were not the so-called experts from the Ministry of Works. The 3 girls kept Li Sun at bay, and he could not even touch a single tile. Li Sun's luck was not bad. After the start of the new round, he had already hurt his tiles after 5 rounds. Hu Yao had 4 and 7, but he did not touch a single tile after 3 rounds. Lu, his opponent, had already dismantled his table, but she still did not touch a single tile. Li Sun did not know, but the most infuriating one was Wei Wei. A 4 and a 7 were both useless tiles. She put them on the side for Li Sun to see. Then she played 3 consecutive tiles. Her meaning was very clear. If you want to win, change it. Don't expect me to play. Xian's opponent had 13 tiles on the table. She grabbed a tile and touched it with her small hands. Then, she glanced at Li Sun and gently flipped it to the middle. Li Sun felt a lot of pressure. He grabbed a tile and looked at the tiles that had been played in the middle. There was only one that was the same as the one in his hand. He hesitated and did not know whether to play or not. Young Master Li, why don't you sleep first and see if you should play in your dreams? I'm sleepy. Let me remind you that I'm playing 5 and 800,000. If so, don't play. Xian yawned and said to Li Sun, you said that last round, but the result was not at all. This round, I'll say it first. My heart is not good. If I play something else, you can't win, or else you can stop playing. As the saying goes, all is fair in war. No one is forcing you to play. Being sick is not an excuse. Being weak is not an excuse. What are you afraid of? A single tile is only 400. It's not a big deal. Serenade looked like she was going to win, which made Li Sun even more worried. His hand holding the tiles trembled. 400 was not a big deal. The main thing was that he had already lost more than 3,000. If he continued to lose, he would become a poor man when he arrived at the destination. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan finally appeared. Li Sun did not wait for the two to speak and said directly, "I thought you two forgot about that big thing. Come back to the cabin with me. I'll give it to you. That's all for today. We'll play another day." After saying that, Li Sun prepared to leave. At the same time, she threw out the card in her hand. 50,000. I win. You can't be like this. You cheated. We won't play with you next time. 400. Even if you don't give it today, you have to give it tomorrow. Serenade took out the tiles and shouted at Li Sun, who was leaving behind a shadow. Young Master Li's tiles are getting better. You dare to play with the three of them. Even I can't deal with them. Young Master Li, look at the ship behind them. Do you know it? Zhang Xiaobao did not know what the three of them were busy with all day. It seemed that they were short of money recently. It was not the first time that people from the inner courtyard had come to say that they were cheated of money. This kind of thing was up to them. What he had to figure out was the meaning of the ships that kept coming along the way. Li Sun took the clairvoyance and looked behind. For a moment he could not figure it out. The ships were not of the same size, and they were also of different ages. The only thing they had in common was that they were very honest. They could also be used for military purposes as cargo ships. Putting down the clairvoyance, Li Sun shook his head. I'm not sure. Since they are mixed in with Master Bai and Master Yao's fleet, why don't we ask the two of you why you haven't seen them in the past 2 days? Who knows? Maybe they are in the wrong. Wang Wan mumbled. As soon as Wang Wan finished speaking, 3 old men walked out from the cabin onto the deck. Their eyes were all red. The first impression they gave was that they were suffering from a contagious disease. Their eyes were red, but they were in good spirits. When the old man Pai saw Zhang Xiaobao and the others, he quickly walked over. He also looked behind and asked, Xiaobao, Cuckoo, and His Royal Highness, are you enjoying the breeze here? It's almost time to eat. I haven't tasted Xiaobao and Cuckoo's cooking for many days. I'm really missing them. Yes, they are. They keep blowing and blowing and blowing. And a few ships will appear. I reckon that by the time they reach Izhou, there will be more than 100 ships behind them. Grandpa Bai, are those ships your relatives? I wonder what kind of goods they are carrying. They draw quite a lot of water. Zhang Xiaobao handed over the clairvoyance in his hand. Old man Pai took it and looked at it carefully. He looked like he was thinking. After a while he said, maybe they see that your fleet is big, so they are following behind you. If they run into trouble, they can ask for help. If they eat the water, it means that they have a lot of goods. Merchants don't have it easy, so why bother with them? That's true. Since they are going the same way, how about this? Grandpa Bai, I'll get someone to bring their ships in. It'll be safer to protect them on the side. I'll be a good person until the end. Every time it's time to eat, I'll call them over to eat something hot. I've seen them a few times, but they are only eating dry rations. How pitiful. Zhang Xiaobao kept looking into Old Man Pai's eyes as he spoke. That fleeting gaze of his was really admirable. He was so old, but he could still look back and forth. Old Man Yao stood up and said, I don't think there's a need. Some people don't like to be helped. They are probably like that. Come, let's eat. Okay, let's eat. What a pity. That's right, Grandpa Yao. My family often makes machines. Recently, we have figured out a kind of oil that can be smeared on metal. It can better protect the metal. For example, as long as we use that oil, not only will it not smell bad, but it will also shine brighter after we wipe it with a cotton cloth. Do you want to take out a few buckets of it and maintain the weapons on the ships behind us? Zhang Xiaobao suddenly said when he was about to turn around and head back to eat. No need. Wrap them up in oil paper. Old Man Yao followed Zhang Xiaobao's words and replied, Oh, that's good. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan said at the same time. This time, the three old men were stunned. Old Man Yao had a helpless expression. How could he make such a mistake normally? The comfortable life made him less vigilant. Old Man Pai asked helplessly, Xiaobao, how do you know that the ships behind us are loaded with weapons? I also know that the ships are not only loaded with weapons, but also with food and medicine, Zhang Xiaobao replied. How do you know? Old Man Pai wondered. I knew as soon as you asked. The more certain you asked, the more certain I was. You asked me first to let me know that my family was used as a cover. Everyone knows that my family's fleet is big. It's so big that no matter how many ships there are, no one will suspect it. So my father became a sacrifice. He had to stay in Izhou for at least a year. If he fell sick there, who would make up for it? I guess that as soon as my family set out, someone in the capital would impeach my father. Then my father was sent away. The time difference was controlled well. My family's pigeons couldn't have flown with the ships. Zhang Xiaobao didn't know the situation at first, but after probing a little, he understood everything. Who will go if not your family? Don't your family want to seek justice for the people in Shuzhou who were washed away by the flood? Other than your family, no one else can take out such a big fleet. Other than your family, no one else can do the follow-up work. Other people are more likely to fall sick. When we get there, I'll tell you why. There are too many people, and if the news is leaked, then all our previous efforts will be wasted. As long as everything goes well, your father can go to another place in at most a year. Old Man Pai didn't have a choice. He could only try to make his voice louder to sound reasonable. Zhang Xiaobao nodded as if he had accepted his fate. He sighed and said, It's really dangerous if you're not a local. Poor thing. My grandfather has lived for so long, but he still doesn't know what it's like to be a rank 1 official. My grandmother doesn't even know what the clothes of a noble lady look like. And Xiaobei, before we left, told me that he wanted to open a toy store in Shuzhou. He heard that there are skilled craftsmen in the military weapons bureau. Unfortunately, this wish can't be realized. As a brother, I'm useless. Useless. Me, my family too. As a sister, sigh. Wang Wan also said at this time. Old Man Pai and the other two looked at each other. Old Man Yao nodded helplessly and said, There are arrangements. Now we'll go to Izhou safely. When he said this, he knew that he had to do something. It was his fault for not keeping his mouth shut. However, a rank 1 official was definitely not allowed. Even a rank 1 official was not allowed. Chapter 595. The drizzle fell on the Yangtze River, and the hazy scenery changed. Against the current, the weeping willows swayed gently, and the sunset could not be seen. After lunch, it started to drizzle, and it was already dark before it was evening. There was no sound of apes crying on both sides of the river, and the speed of a light boat passing through thousands of mountains. Similarly, there was no feeling of being blown by the wind. Li Sun covered his chest and found Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Xiaobao, I'm sick. I think I won't be able to hold on until we reach the place. I'll leave the rest to you, but I still have a wish. As soon as he saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, Li Sun gasped for breath and said. Zhang Xiaobao moved closer to Li Sun, rolled his eyes and asked doubtfully, What's wrong with you? Didn't you see a doctor? It's no use. My heart can't take it anymore. Xiaobao, we have to live a grand life. I feel that I don't have anything else except that I'm missing a chance to do something big. Xiaobao, look at our relationship over the past few years. You have to let me shine like a meteor in the sky. Li Sun and Wei Wei closed their eyes, and their breathing gradually weakened. Wang Wan stood aside and watched for a while, then turned back to continue with her work. Zhang Xiaobao still looked nervous, but the corners of his mouth were curled up. When Li Sun slightly opened his left eye, Zhang Xiaobao quickly closed his mouth again. He asked sadly, Young Master Li, if you have something to say, just say it. I'll help you if I can. Rest assured, with our relationship, I won't let you die so easily. Li Sun heard and opened his right eye, but his breathing was still not so smooth. He said weakly, I hope that when we reach Yingzhou, your family will provide me with more sleeve arrows. I want to be loyal to the country. Well, Do you want to kill yourself with sleeve arrows? Zhang Xiaobao asked doubtfully. No, I want to kill the enemy. Oh, you want to kill Tubo, right? Will you recover after killing them? I'm sorry, but don't think about it. It's not up to you. Tell me, what did you get from them? Zhang Xiaobao thought for a while. If he wanted to kill the enemy in Wing Prefecture, he could only go to Tubo. It seemed that this had something to do with the transfer this time. However, Old Man Pai and the other two didn't want to tell him, and insisted on waiting until they arrived. He had no choice but to ask Li Sun in a roundabout way. Li Sun was stunned, and his breathing stopped. He stared at Zhang Xiaobao for a while and asked, How did you know? Do you think I'm stupid? I don't know anything. I've decided. Because the boat is on the river and my family is not feeling well, we'll postpone the trip. We'll stop at the shore and enjoy the delicacies of the river to recuperate. Zhang Xiaobao thought of a way to get the news as soon as possible, and that was to delay. When the others were running out of time, they would naturally discuss with him. Then what about my aspiration to be like a shooting star? Li Sun was still thinking about his matter. With your IQ, you can't be a shooting star. How about the moon? Wait for the sun to set before you appear. Zhang Xiaobao expressed his thoughts tactfully. Li Sun still fought for it and said, Then there's still the time when the sun and moon rise. Then I can leave the finishing work to you. Zhang Xiaobao compromised. Zhang Xiaobao did what he said. When night fell, the speed of the fleet slowed down and began to look for a place to dock. Just as he thought, Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao couldn't stay still. They pulled Old Man Chang along, and each of them held a small teapot in their hands. From time to time, they would sip and shake the tea in their mouths. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wang were playing games with a group of little guys. Some of the adults were seasick, but the little guys were still so active. It seemed that they were not affected by the ups and downs of the ship at all. The group stood in a circle. In the middle was a big ball sewn with a float. They kicked it back and forth. If they kicked it, they would wait for others to kick it again. If they missed, they would chase with all their strength. Many times, two little guys would try to grab it at the same time, each wanting to kick it themselves. Xiaobao, why is the ship so slow? Old Man Pai asked Zhang Xiaobao after kicking the ball back to him. The little guys are not in good health, so they can't walk too fast. Also, my grandfather has to find a place to rest. If we don't do well, it will be many days late when we reach Izhou. I don't know if the imperial court will blame me, but there's no other way. I can't get into trouble just to get there. At worst, I'll quit being an official and find a few acres of land to live a good life. Zhang Xiaobao pointed at his younger brothers and sisters and replied. The three old men couldn't tell which one of them was not in good health. They looked at each other. Old Man Yao sighed and finally spoke. Xiaobao, there's something that I should tell you. Even if it's against the imperial favor, come with me. Grandpa Yao, please don't. How can I harm you? There's no hurry. But Commandery Prince Li seems to want to be a shooting star. It's difficult for him to charge and break through the enemy lines. He's not satisfied with being a moon. What's going on? Zhang Xiaobao didn't give him any face at all. He hated to fight battles that he wasn't sure about. Since it was a secret, then he would keep it. I won't leave. I'll see when you can transport the things to the destination. Otherwise, don't use Zhang Xiaobao's and Wang's fleets as a cover. Li Sun already knew, but he still kept it a secret. This was unreasonable. As he said this, Zhang Xiaobao followed Old Man Yao to a place where there was no one. Old Man Pai and Zhang Xiaobao also came over. Wang Wan gathered the little guys and servants together, and went to a place further away to play. She didn't want to disturb the four people's conversation. Zhang Xiaobao and Old Man Pai sat down. Old Man Pai looked around and said, Actually, the main reason for going to Izhou this time is to deal with Tubo. We're going to use force against Tubo, but we're afraid that they will find out. So we're going to use our family's fleet as a cover and catch them off guard. My family has to take the risk and cooperate. Why didn't you tell us? Without waiting for Old Man Pai to finish his words, Zhang Xiaobao continued with a dissatisfied look. Old Man Pai shut up. Old Man Chang then said, Then do you know why we're going to use force against Tubo? It's mainly because It's mainly because they have something to do with the dam breach at Suzhou's Wangjiang. The imperial court investigated and finally discovered that someone or a few people from the imperial court had been deceived by a spy. They didn't deal with the people from the imperial court because they wanted to numb Tubo. Once they started fighting, the imperial court would come back and deal with them. But what does this have to do with my family? My father is going to Luoyang, not Izhou. We've already exchanged benefits. When doing business, even people know how to be honest, let alone the imperial court. Zhang Xiaobao continued the conversation once again. What he meant was, don't think that my family doesn't know anything. Anyway, we have to continue the exchange. Just as Old Man Yao was about to say something, Old Man Pai said angrily, why didn't you exchange with your family? Aren't your grandfather and Cuckoo's grandfather going to have official positions? When your family left, they gave you the salt pan you wanted. After the war, you had to return to Luoyang and delay things. If not your family, who would go? How would you cover up such a big team? If you don't go by water, people will notice you on land. It's not like your family doesn't know the local people. Ordinary people won't be able to control them at all. If the logistics are not stable, how are you going to fight? Moreover, this time, we have to borrow your family's power to allocate the provisions. If your family goes, no matter how big of a commotion you make, others will think that it's a business move. If someone else tries to mobilize there, Tubo will immediately realize it. The most important thing is your family's organizational ability. The imperial court didn't send any other officials. When the war starts, it will all depend on your family's ability to transfer and transport. This is the result of the emperor and a few ministers' research. Lu Zhou, when your family was fighting against disasters, running businesses, and taking care of the people, there was no mistake at all. If you want to blame someone, blame it on your family's ability. The emperor rarely praises others, but he praised your family once. He said that in terms of logistics, the Zhang family is the best. With your family there, it will save the imperial court a lot of trouble. At this time, Old Man Yao also spoke. He had to say it. The Zhang family's ship was about to dock. However, Zhang Xiaobao was still not satisfied with this answer. Then why didn't you say it in advance? If I say it in advance, what if your family members can't control their emotions? If others see it, won't all your previous efforts be wasted? Originally, it's not suitable for war now. The country has just stabilized, and it will take some time to recover. I'm the one who is most against war, but your family has helped the imperial court obtain a lot of taxes. Also, your family and Li Sun have a lot of money. Even if the imperial court can't gather it in time, we can use your money to deal with it first. When Old Man Yao said this, he seemed very embarrassed. He was not wrong. Back then, when Prime Minister Run was still alive, he said that they should not go to war. However, he supported war now. Zhang Xiaobao pondered for a while and said, in that case, when the time comes and the imperial court can't transfer the provisions, my family will have to think of a way. If we can't support it financially, my family will have to fork out some money. If we lose, whose responsibility is it? Old Man Chang finally found an opportunity to say, if we lose, it's naturally the responsibility of the general in front. He'll be the one fighting. As long as your family supplies the logistics, it'll be fine. What if we win? Doesn't the credit also count as the general's? My family is in the logistics. If we lose money, we'll have nothing. Also, let me say this first. Logistics is a regular supply. If he needs a lot of oil to attack with fire, then my family won't care. My family is responsible for transporting the provisions and military equipment to the first city to attack. Now, let's talk about how the delay will be calculated. Zhang Xiaobao asked again. This time, the three old men were in a dilemma. They looked at each other and didn't know what to say. When they were stared at by Zhang Xiaobao, Old Man Pai said, if you win, you'll have to win. However, you can't give any reward in the imperial court. You can secretly compensate your father when he changes positions. In this year's imperial examination, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family's villagers in Zhuangzi will do well. As long as they are of age and have indeed studied in the academy, it's fine. We need to write a letter to discuss this. Basically, there's no problem. Yes, there's no problem. Chapter 596. Zhang Xiaobao's words at first made the three old men happy, but when they heard that they were going to dock, they didn't know what to do. They all looked at Zhang Xiaobao, waiting for his answer. The three old men knew that Zhang Xiaobao had just gone back to ask the expert, so now they were waiting for an answer. Why did they have to stop the ship? The fleet of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family had been floating on the water for 2 months without any supplies. They had just come out for a few days, so there must be a reason. Could it be that there were more conditions? It's all your fault. You only told me now. If you had told me earlier, I would have prepared earlier. The preparation for taking office is definitely different from the preparation for logistics. It will be too late to gather supplies when we arrive. We'll stop for 1 night and 1 morning tomorrow, and then we'll speed up. Zhang Xiaobao was much more relaxed this time. The new exchange conditions were good, better than the previous ones. The main thing was that they could help the people of Shuzhou to avenge. If his family didn't go to Shuzhou, maybe the 2 mines would continue to be secretly mined, and no one would destroy the river embankment. Zhang Xiaobao couldn't help but admire the 2 judges who had lurked and waited for an opportunity. After so many years of ambush, their families were established, and they even became officials, but they were still willing to sacrifice everything for the interests of the country. After all, they were not people of the Tang Empire. They had to be prepared for revenge. If you drown my people, I'll slaughter your people. There was nothing to say. As for the praise from the imperial court, Zhang Xiaobao didn't take it to heart at all. Something practical was more attractive than words. What was the use of 10,000 words of praise? After discussing with the 3 old men, Zhang Xiaobao happily found Wang Wan, who was playing with the little ones, and hurried back to his cabin. Taking out the map, Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan, "Good news. Now we can make a lot of money from the war. We've also gained a lot of benefits. We're going to war. You're good at this. Help me figure out how to deal with logistics." While Wang Wan was puzzled, Zhang Xiaobao told her about his conversation with the 3 old men. The map in front of him was very precious. Even the imperial court didn't have it. Only Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had a few copies. It was a military map of Tubo. It included mountain ranges, rivers, fields, roads, as well as various villages and shops. There was even a map of the layout of Tubo's Jinchuan city. This was all thanks to Serenade, who had been doing business with him all this time. He had also told him about the new game, and even gave him the map of the entire Tang Empire. In exchange, he had added a few more people to his team that Song Jinggong had sent to draw the map. Song Jinggong said that he would help him come up with a set of rules, and let him operate the game in Tubo. In the end, after the map was done, the military map was given to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. After some changes, it became a map of the game, and was sent back to him. It was said that the effect was not as good as that in the capital. Many people didn't follow the rules and mostly carved the characters and goods themselves. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't care about how much money he earned. With this map, it was enough. Wang Wan looked at the contour lines on the map and the marked roads. She whispered, "The road is too difficult to walk on. They arranged for your father to go to Izhou. It must be to find gold. It's a little far. It would be more convenient if your father went to Zhezhou to be the provincial governor. It's close to Tubo." Yes, Li Longji was also afraid that something would go wrong, so he moved back dozens of miles. There's a province in front of him in case the expert died, and there was no one to help him. From the date, this war was prepared in a hurry, especially in terms of logistics. According to the information you received, in order to numb the enemy and give them a warning and revenge, they didn't even gather the local food in Chengdu. The emperor who can mutiny is indeed daring. He's betting that we can organize a complete logistics system under such circumstances. Unfortunately, this matter is only known to the 2 of us now. We can't tell anyone else, including our family, in case the secret is leaked. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. He also knew how difficult it was, but since he had accepted it, he had to do it well. Basically, everyone knew that before the troops and horses moved, the provisions had to be prepared first, let alone him and Wang Wan. Looking at the roads on the map that shouldn't be used by humans, he held his chin and thought hard. When Wang Wan started to make military deductions, he said, When we get to Jiangxia tomorrow night, think of a way to pass the news to the fleet in front through the land route. Send 5 members of Team 0. There are many places where there are no roads, only mountains. We need them to block the ships in front of us on the river section where we need to pull the cable. Don't sleep tonight. You make your deductions and I'll do mine. Li Longji really thinks highly of us. No wonder Grandpa Bai and the others were busy building roads. They were planning to build a supply route. What a joke. Isn't Li Sun going to participate in the war? Good, count him in. We really can't send any troops. Then don't disturb me. It's very difficult, especially when we don't have any data to support it. I don't even have any information on the enemy's generals and our own generals, let alone understand their personalities. Wang Wan took a map and hid in a corner to get busy. She also knew that she didn't have many soldiers in her family. There were only 56 people that she could bring out. The rest of the guards had not seen blood yet. They were far inferior compared to Li Sun's guards. While Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were busy, the 3 old men couldn't sleep. They were already old, so they didn't sleep well. Coupled with the fact that they had something on their minds, they tossed and turned in bed. Do you think the Zhang family will succeed? Old Man Chang wasn't as knowledgeable as Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao. He also couldn't compare to them in terms of political knowledge. However, he was also anxious. As long as one wasn't stupid, they would know how big of a problem the Zhang family was going to face. They didn't give them any time to prepare and immediately mobilized. This was because they really couldn't keep it a secret. Otherwise, they would have only told them when they were about to reach Izhou. In fact, it was useless now. There wasn't enough time. The transportation of military equipment couldn't be delayed. They could only see the situation along the way. If it were him, even if he was forced to die, he wouldn't be able to organize the logistics without solving the local problems. Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao were also uncertain. It was too risky. Perhaps the Zhang family's organizational skills had reached a frightening level. Or perhaps the Zhang family had never compromised in the face of difficulties time and time again. That was why they had made such a plan. Old Man Pai pulled up the thin quilt covering his body and exposed his arms. He looked at the dark cabin ceiling and said, I don't know if it will succeed. That will depend on whether the Zhang family has an undeserved reputation. If it succeeds, it will probably be difficult to arrange an official position for Zhang Zhong. Should he be placed in the Ministry of Revenue, which is in charge of local governance, or the Ministry of War? One person can't be divided into 2 halves. If he doesn't have an official position, the expert behind him won't do anything. Oh, it seems like it's also possible to put him in the Ministry of Works. Then let's use Cuckoo's father as well. Why do you insist on giving him an official position? Give him an actual position. Anyway, there's someone behind him helping. I don't believe that he can't do it well. I think it won't be too big of a problem. Otherwise, Xiaobao wouldn't have agreed so easily when he went to ask. I'm looking forward to his family's actions and see how capable they are. In the past, they always ran to the local areas to build. This time, they will be in charge of logistics. It's different from building. It's not as simple as taking out the family's money to give the people a job, and then starting business. There's not much time for them to do this. Old Man Yao simply sat up and turned on the lights in the cabin. As he spoke, he picked up the thermos and made himself a cup of tea. He also took out a handful of sunflower seeds and started munching on them. Old Man Pai looked envious. He also came over and helped Old Man Chang make a cup of tea. He held the teacup in his hand and said, It's a loss. If I knew this would happen, I would have discussed with the Zhang family in advance. Now there are even more conditions in exchange. After giving out all the benefits, when the children of the Zhang family and Wang family grow up, with the marriage alliance between the 2 families, it won't be difficult for the 6 of them to support the 2 families. Moreover, there are still 2 adults. It's not good to tell them in advance. If they know the news and go to Chengdu in advance to make preparations, there will always be flaws. Zhang Zhong hasn't become an official yet, but there are already people buying grain in the area. Plus, with the incident in Shuzhou, as long as the people of Tubo aren't fools, they will be able to see through it. I don't know much about other things, but I also know that usually, Wars are fought after the autumn harvest. If we go now, it will be the hottest time of summer. It won't be the autumn harvest yet. After the war with Tubo, even if they want to counterattack, they will have to wait for some time. It's enough for Tang to make arrangements. What we rely on is to catch them off guard. Who would have thought that they would send troops at this time? However, the burden will be on the Zhang family. Let's see if they can bear it. Once they do, it will be impossible for them to become local officials in the future. Who can rest assured that such people will be released? Old Man Chang didn't drink tea as gently as Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao. While it was hot, he drank it in one gulp. He exhaled hot air and expressed his thoughts. Early the next morning, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan rushed to eat breakfast and ran to the deck to sleep in the sun. It had rained yesterday, so now the weather was good. It wasn't cold, but it wasn't hot. The little ones were waiting for their older brother and sister to come and play with them. However, after waiting for more than an hour, they still didn't see anyone. They angrily threw away the toys in their hands and went out to look for them. When they found the two people lying there sleeping, they became interested and tried hard to express their thoughts. They asked someone to wake them up and let them sleep next to their older brother and sister. The three old men woke up early in the morning and began to observe the people in the inner courtyard of the Zhang family and Wang family. When they found that nothing had changed, they were relieved. After breakfast, they called Li Sun over. Your Highness, you know why we went there this time. Don't think about going to war. Your guards, UNGs and my guards will be responsible for protecting the people in the Zhang family and Wang family. Don't look at the distance. It's 100 li away. If something happens to them, this old man won't have the face to live. Old Man Pai heard Zhang Xiaobao mention yesterday that Li Sun wanted to be a star. Today, he had to tell him in advance in case something happened and disturbed the Zhang family's arrangements. Li Sun was still not convinced. I have a special force. Stop. What kind of force must be left behind to protect? Otherwise, this old man will tie you up and send you back to the capital. Let the emperor see your special force. Chapter 597. After leaving Jiangxia, the speed of the fleet became faster. They didn't stop to resupply when they passed by Dongting Lake. After half a month, they finally arrived at a dangerous place, Xiling Gorge. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan stood at the bow of the ship and used their thousandly eyes to observe the scene in front of them. They looked at each other and were both shocked. They had never seen such a place before. Before it was very stable, but now it was terrifying. In just a short while, the two of them saw a fairly good ship hit the rocks due to the rapid current. Fortunately, it had just hit the rocks and was still going against the current. The ship immediately broke free and reached the shore before it sank. The people on the ship jumped off one after another, leaving only the mast of the ship above the water. I think it's good to build a dam. Although it will put pressure on the Earth's crust, it's like an earthquake. No one can say that it really has a big impact on other aspects. At least it will be easier to sail. It's not that scary. Right now, Zhang Xiaobao only wanted his fleet to pass through smoothly, so he put everything else aside. Wang Wan was also shocked by the current and the danger below. Looking at the waves that hit the mountains on both sides, she said, "How can we go? Our ships are deep in the water. It's impossible to send people to check the situation below. If one person goes in, there will be no one left. Do you want to rely on luck? Let the ship go up and insert the iron pole diagonally. Explore the way. I don't want to walk for 3 days and 3 nights only to see Yellow Ox Rock when I turn back." Zhang Xiaobao didn't have time to waste. The earlier they arrived, the earlier they could prepare. He didn't know how the ship in front of them passed, so he immediately ordered the ship to go first. At least the ship would be more stable. At this time, the people on the ship pointed to the mountains on both sides and said, "Young master, look, there is a sign on the mountain. There are words on it." Zhang Xiaobao looked. Sure enough, there was a sign. The words were too small to see clearly, so he used the binoculars to look. "Ship, explore the way. At this sign, go forward 121 meters. 45 meters to the left. The reef is 7 meters above the water. Go around 5 meters. You can avoid it. Well done. This is the advanced team. Look at the sign. Tell the people behind to follow closely. Don't worry if you hit the reef. Zhang Xiaobao saw the words on the sign, waved his fist and said happily. This was the inner courtyard of the Zhang family and Wang family. They had long considered this matter, preparing for the fleet behind them. As for what he said afterwards, it was to warn those who were unconvinced. So what if it was military transport? How dare they compete with the fleet of the Zhang family and Wang family? This made it easy for the various ships following behind. Seeing the large ships in front of them moving forward smoothly, they also followed suit. The three old men sat together with Li Sun. Originally, they planned to wait patiently, but they didn't expect the fleet to rush forward. Especially the ships of the Zhang family, Wang family, and Li Sun. Relying on their flexibility, they weren't afraid of being swept away by the current at all. They stood at the front and opened a path for the ships behind. Old Man Pai took the clairvoyant eye and looked at the signs on both sides of the river. He could understand the measurements on the signs, so there was no problem in converting them into feet and feet. He then took another clairvoyant eye and gave it to Old Man Yao. This is the capability of the Zhang family. The people who are scouting ahead are from the inner courtyard of the Zhang family. They have long anticipated that the boats behind them would be difficult to pass through and provided the data on both sides of the river. With the performance of the Zhang family's boats, there is no need to worry about wasting time. This is the true inner courtyard of an aristocratic family. When I was in Sanshui County, I didn't realize that their inner courtyard was so powerful. Old Yao went to Suzhou later. He only heard about the Zhang family from others, especially the shipping fleet. He only knew that it was extraordinary, but he had never seen it with his own eyes. Today was an eye-opener. When other ships took this route, they had to be extremely careful. Some even seemed to stop on the surface of the water for fear of being washed away by the turbulence. The Zhang family's fleet had never taken this route before. It was the first time they could do it so smoothly, so they couldn't help but be convinced. Why do you have to write such a number? Wouldn't it be better to just write Zhang? Old Man Yao asked in confusion. It's not accurate enough. The Zhang family's current measurement tools are accurate to the millimeter. It's too troublesome to calculate according to the measurements of the current Great Tang. For example, when the Ministry of Works is making weapons, they sometimes use the term half an inch. How much is half an inch? Moreover, every place has a different appearance. It's a mess. Unlike the Qin Dynasty, their weapons can be replaced when they are damaged. It seems like we need to unify them. Old Man Pai explained to Old Man Yao. Li Sun, who was at the side, said smugly, "What's this little bit of danger? How can it be more dangerous than the sea? There's no chance to explore there at all. It's all based on experience. That's the real danger." He had reason to be proud. His fleet was the same as the Zhang family and the Wang families. They were all good ships. If he didn't go to dangerous places, how could he show that he was better than others? Old Man Yao had never seen what the sea at Lu Zhou's place looked like. Now was not the time to talk about the sea. He looked at the signs that were specially hung on the mountains on both sides of the river and said, "When we get there, I'll arrange for people to replace the big signs and words with the sizes of Zhang and Zhang, that everyone can understand. It's convenient for the ships to come and go. It's useless. The river rises and falls. We might be able to hide for a while, but when we really go on this route, we'll have to rely on the experience of the boatmen. Unfortunately, they can't read at all. If they could write down their experiences and organize it. Perhaps it would be useful." Old Man Pai said with emotion. He was thinking about the inner courtyard of the Zhang family and the Wang family and the villagers. When he was in Sanshui County, he found out that all of them had to be literate. At that time, he did not understand why the villagers were literate. Now that he thought about it, if the villagers of the Zhang family and the Wang family encountered the same situation, the result would be different. Li Sun's mansion also imitated the literacy of the Zhang family and the Wang family. At this time, he said, "In the future, let everyone be literate, just like Sanshui County, Huayuan County, and Lu Zhou's place. As long as there are children in the family, regardless of whether they are boys or girls, They will have to go to school for free. When they grow up and have children, they can teach themselves what the school can teach. Where will the money come from? Old Man Yao also hoped that the entire Tang dynasty would be literate. Unless it was a critical moment, they would not realize the benefits of literacy. Li Sun was worried about other things, but he was not afraid of money. According to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he was so poor that he only had money left. Lord Yao, you don't have to worry about the money for education. I will contribute part of it, and the Zhang family and the Wang family will contribute part of it. They like to do this kind of thing the most, not only in education but also in treatment. Since I met Xiaobao and Cuckoo, they have been investing a lot of money in education every year. Lord Bai, you should know. I know. But the money for Sanshui County's Jianjiao Academy doesn't seem to come directly from his family. The academy organizes 1 or 2 competitions every year, and the money comes out. Also, they can make money by writing poems and copying books for the students they contact. Old Man Pai was full of anger at the mention of this matter. Zhang family and the Wang family gained a good reputation, and the students remembered them. Other people paid for them, and there were advertisements for other shops on the walls of the academy. Even the clothes they wore had small words embroidered on the corners. Only these 2 families could do such a thing. What was originally an elegant academy was actually filled with the stench of money, but the results were very good. Even if the students were poor, as long as they were willing to learn, they would have good food every day. There were 2 competitions in a year, and they did not have to worry about anything else. Their food, clothing, and accommodation were all taken care of by others, and the people who took care of them felt that they were taking advantage of them. What kind of world was this? Other people would not be able to finish the journey in a few days, but the fleet of Zhang family and the Wang family only took half a day to pass through. The weather was getting hotter. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could not find anything to do, so they wrote a proposal every day and sent it to their father. After their father approved it, they changed it and sent it to Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao. After Old Man Bai and Old Man Yao gave their comments, the 2 of them would write another copy and send it over. When the 3 of them were satisfied, it would be considered complete. After that, they would tidy up what they had written before and after, write down their comments, and prepare to wait for the book to be printed and sold. It could be said that they could learn and earn money at the same time. If they still had time, they would look for Old Man Chong and Old Man Yao to practice martial arts. Old Man Chong basically used fighting techniques and had a lot of experience. Old Man Yao was well versed in all kinds of weapons. He could be said to be an all-rounder. If they did not take advantage of him, they would be letting themselves down. The 3 old men were also willing to teach, especially Old Man Yao. He came later, unlike Old Man Pai, who had already experienced the carefreeness of teaching Xiaobao and Cuckoo. The days passed in such a fulfilling way. On this day, the fleet finally could not rely on their own strength to move forward. Zhang family and the Wang family might be able to barely swim, but the military definitely could not. They had already reached Tang Gorge. With the strength of the impact, no matter how good a swimmer was, if they jumped in, it was guaranteed that they would disappear. The fleet could not move on their own, so they had to rely on a tracker. Seeing that the tracker only had a piece of cloth to cover his face and did not even have shoes, Wang Wan closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and exhaled deeply. Just as she was about to ask someone to bring them clothes and shoes, Zhang Xiaobao spoke. Someone bring them some good cotton rope and canvas. Tell them not to rush. Let them have a meal first and rest before moving. Tell the ships behind to wait. Wang Wan did not say anything after hearing Zhang Xiaobao's instructions. She only realized that the tracker had given them clothes and shoes, but they could not wear them when they were pulling the rope. The clothes would tear after a short period of time, and the shoes could not be worn. They had to be steady at every step. If they wore shoes, they would feel uncomfortable. To them, what they needed the most was good rope and canvas. However, Wang Wan was unwilling to give up. She tugged at Zhang Xiaobao and said, "Think of something for them. Take out 5,000 strings of cash, and make good iron poles and handles for them on this route. That way, they won't have to hold on to rocks to move forward. Generations of trackers will be able to use them." Zhang Xiaobao agreed without hesitation. Chapter 598. The river winds, the river flows, the river tides, the mountains and rivers swirl in the heart of the river. The river bank is steep and the mountains are slanted along the wall. Beside the river, the naked rocks sing ancient songs. Tens of thousands of waves, tens of thousands of ripples, hundreds of big boats, hundreds of small boats. One man, one rope, one shoulder pad, one step, one stop, one sentence mark. The trackers gladly accepted the rope and canvas that Zhang Xiaobao asked his men to deliver to them. They decided to use the rope and canvas to replace the cost of pulling the rope, especially the huge canvas. When the leader of the trackers held the rope and canvas in his hand, a childish smile appeared on his face that was so old that it was hard to tell his age from the wind and frost. With such a good cloth to cushion your shoulders, you won't have to worry about chafing your shoulders. Where did this canvas come from? I've never seen it before. It's a good thing. I'll definitely pull the boat through this gorge safely. Wang Wan felt like she was just like her little brothers and sisters. She would be satisfied as long as they were given something fun to play with. The calluses on her hands, feet, and shoulders were cracked. She really wanted to do something for the trackers. Is 5,000 piercings really enough? Wang Wan asked Zhang Xiaobao. She knew that when Zhang Xiaobao spoke, under normal circumstances, it was hard to guess which sentence was true and which was false. Perhaps what Zhang Xiaobao said with a serious expression was so fake that it couldn't be any more fake. Or perhaps what he said casually was the truth. However, this wasn't a problem for Wang Wan. She knew that as long as she forced Zhang Xiaobao, the lies would become the truth. Now she was going to do this. Zhang Xiaobao did not seem to notice the tracker's hard work. His expression was as calm as ever, and his words were as light as a feather. That depends on whether or not someone came over and secretly removed the steel fixed with cement when no one was paying attention. If someone steals, not to mention 5,000 strings of coins, even 50 million strings of coins won't be enough to fill it up. If no one steals, a one-time investment of about 3,000 strings of coins will be enough to open up a path that can be used. In the future, the annual maintenance cost of a few hundred strings of coins will be enough. Be serious. I want to know what you think. Wang Wan glared at Zhang Xiaobao in dissatisfaction. His life was already so difficult, and he still acted as if nothing had happened? Alright, that's serious. I'll be serious now. It doesn't matter what I think. What's important is whether or not the trackers can protect the things that were made for them. We are just passers-by. That's how the rules have been for thousands of years. Give them a chance, and it's up to them to see how far they can go. Zhang Xiaobao's words were serious, but his expression was still the same. There was even a hint of a smile on his face. Wang Wan was so angry that she reached out and pinched Zhang Xiaobao's cheeks. She stared into Zhang Xiaobao's eyes and said, "My Xiaobao is the Xiaobao who can jump from a height of 15 meters and climb a 9-meter-tall wall with his bare hands. My Xiaobao is the Xiaobao who can deceive the world and take the lives of the politicians of other countries. My Xiaobao is the Xiaobao who can use the money he scams to give the children of his country a better future. He is the Xiaobao who is willing to trade his life for the children of criminals. The only rule that can bind him is his conscience. When everyone is helpless, he can turn the tide. Do you understand, Zhang Xiaobao? Did you develop too quickly and get too much nutrition? Did you reach the sunflower stage early? I didn't say that I wouldn't help. What does your expression have to do with it? My cuckoo, don't you believe me?" Zhang Xiaobao spent a lot of effort to force those words out of his deformed mouth. Wang Wan let go of her hand. "Who's your cuckoo? You're the one who's at the sunflower stage. We'll sleep in separate beds tonight. I'll go see how they pull the cable. I'll leave this to you. If you can't do it well, we'll sleep in separate rooms." Wang Wan was satisfied and left happily. Zhang Xiaobao was left standing where he was. He rubbed his cheeks and mumbled, "Scared of you? Sleep in separate beds? Little brat, what else can I do? Just wait for me to grow up." "Hey someone, why are you standing so far away?" When Zhang Xiaobao felt that his face still belonged to him, he shouted at the person who was standing 5 feet away and was about to fall off the boat. The person immediately came over and whispered, "Young master, please tell me. I didn't see anything just now." "If you didn't see anything, then don't stay in the inner courtyard. Didn't you see the hardship of being a tracker? Didn't you see the hardship of being a tracker? Since you didn't see anything, I'll give you a chance to take a good look. You stay here and find someone to organize the local trackers. Monopolize them. Each person can only earn a few copper coins for pulling a boat. You don't know how many people and goods are on the boat. When the goods are sold over there, you can earn several times or even more than 10 times the profit. Once you've organized them, raise the price. If they don't want to spend money, let them figure out a way to climb. Use cement and steel to fix the climbing area. If the local boss tries to stop you, use money. If you can't, kill him. Don't worry about not being able to beat him. I'll find something useful for you later. You can ask the local authorities for help. Remember, the person who stays with you is a man. If it's a woman, sleep in separate beds." After talking to the servants in the inner courtyard, Zhang Xiaobao was in a good mood. He happily went to find Old Man Pai and the other two. The servants in the inner courtyard were stunned for a while before they slapped themselves. "Serves you right. You can't control your mouth. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Grandpa Bai, Grandpa Yao, and Grandpa Zhang. Have the three of you eaten?" Zhang Xiaobao jogged all the way to the cabin where the three old men were. He asked them sweetly as they enjoyed the scenery outside through the window. Old Man Pai suddenly shivered. If it was in Sanshui County, he would feel gratified when he heard Xiaobao and Cuckoo talk like this. Now he understood the two more. A few days ago, they were angry with him. They didn't even give him a good face when he asked about knowledge. Now they became cute in the blink of an eye. No matter how he looked at it, it was strange that they became so cute. Old Man Yao didn't know. He thought that the little kid didn't hold a grudge. He thought that the little kid didn't hold a grudge against his family a few days ago. Now that he saw the scenery of the Yangtze River, he forgot about it. When he heard Zhang Xiaobao's question, he laughed and said, "It's not time to eat yet. Xiaobao, aren't you going to play with Xiaobei and the others? You haven't eaten yet? That's good. In a while, Cuckoo and I will personally cook for the three grandpas. It's been hard on the boat for many days. You should eat something good. What do the three grandpas want to eat? Cuckoo and I will definitely make it. Usually Cuckoo and I treat the three grandpas as our own grandpas." Zhang Xiaobao blinked his big innocent eyes and continued speaking. Old Man Chang also felt cold. Maybe it was because the window was open too wide. The wind was blowing. It was cold on the Yangtze River. Old Man Pai didn't see the nervous look that Old Man Pai gave him. He followed Zhang Xiaobao's words and said, "As long as it's made by Xiaobao and Cuckoo, the grandpas love to eat it. The grandpas also treat Xiaobao and Cuckoo as their own grandson and granddaughter." Grandpa by Grandpa Zhang, is what Grandpa Yao said true? Zhang Xiaobao turned his head to look at Old Man Pai and Old Man Chang, and asked a little uncertainly. The two old men nodded very tacitly. At the same time they said in their hearts, "It's over, it's over. We don't even know what's waiting for us. Retribution has come, right? I knew the three grandpas were the best. Grandpa by Grandpa Yao, where are your famous tattoos?" Zhang Xiaobao changed the topic and started to get to the point. "What?" Old Man Pai asked with a trembling voice. "Your grandson and granddaughter wanted to borrow it. If you don't want to give it to us, then forget it. You're even talking about your own grandpa." Zhang Xiaobao lowered his voice towards the end, but the three old men still heard it clearly. Just as Old Man Pai was wondering why the two little ancestors wanted the tattoos, Old Man Yao happily said, "Xiaobao and Cuckoo want to use it, then give it to them. It's just a name tattoo. Wait, Grandpa Xiaobao will get it for you." Old Man Yao turned around to look for a name assassin. Old Man Bai met Zhang Xiaobao's expectant gaze, and was defeated within 2 seconds. He also turned around to look for one. Old Man Zhang did not have a name assassin, so he could only watch from the side. After Zhang Xiaobao got the two old men's tattoos, he happily waved them. He ran out while saying, "Three grandpas, thank you. In a while, Cuckoo and I will make wontons for the three of you. The kind with big stuffing. Don't get me into trouble." Old Man Pai shouted at the empty cabin. He sighed and said to Old Man Yao, Xiaobao and Cuckoo's wontons aren't delicious. With the name tattoo in their hands, they can do anything. Then why did you give them the gilded name tattoo? Old Man Yao asked. What they want is the gilded name tattoo. I just offended them a few days ago. How can I not give it? Don't talk about the name tattoo. If they want my life, I will fight with them. And in a while let's eat wontons. The wontons made by the two children are really delicious. Drink tea, drink tea. Empty your stomach and eat a few to make up for your loss. Old Man Pai helplessly said. This time, Xiaobao also learned to keep it a secret. Zhang Xiaobao handed the two-name tattoo to the servants who stayed behind. Then, he turned around and went to find Wang Wan to discuss the wontons. When he found Wang Wan was watching the boatman pull the rope. She clenched her little fists tightly, as if she was helping him. The river is flowing downwards, yo. Hey yo-he. Bend your waist and climb the mountain, yo. Hey yo-he. Straighten your back and walk, yo. Hey yo-he. There's a whirlpool ahead, grab the lifesaver, yo. Hey yo-he. Bend your waist to the right, lean down. Hey, hey, hey yo-he. The boatman who commanded the boatmen shouted with every step. Following the sound of the boatman's voice, all the boatmen moved in unison and brushed past the whirlpool. It was unknown how they were able to exert their strength. The boatman's voice was sharp, hoarse and high-pitched. The boatman's voice was deep and resounding. It echoed back and forth on both sides of the Yangtze River, making people hear the legendary song of this waterway. I was wondering why the boatman's voice in the past was different from now. The boatman's voice was modified. The real boatman's voice was used to command, not to express emotions. Wang Wan exclaimed as she listened to the boatman's voice echoing on both sides of the river and the mountains. Which one is better? Zhang Xiaobao did not expect the real boatman's voice to be so shocking. Chapter 599. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could not possibly treat the trackers as civilians living at the bottom of society. When they saw the trackers climbing and wading through the water, they were real heroes when they used their rich experience and strength to ensure the safety of the boats. If only we had a camera, we could record this moment. When Xiao Bei and the others are older and more mature, we'll show them that there are people like them in the world. Wang Wan said regretfully. Everyone lives the same life, the only difference is the quality of life. It's fine as long as the trackers know that they're tired. There's no need to put them in a high position. It'll be fine in the future. These people are giving us too little money. Let's stick together. If they don't want to spend more money, we'll cross the river ourselves. Zhang Xiaobao told Wang Wan as he watched the trackers moving forward. You've arranged everything? Aren't you afraid that someone else will take over if the trackers don't pull the boats? Wang Wan was very confident in Zhang Xiaobao's ability. She was just worried that someone else would take over the position if the price was too high. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. Pulling a cable isn't just about physical strength. Let's not even talk about newbies. Even if we ask the trackers from the other two valleys to try, we'll see if any of the boats dare to be pulled by them. They'll break every single one of the boats. Just listen to the tune. They've turned pulling a cable into an art. It's the experience accumulated from generations of trackers. What if they find someone to beat them up? Wang Wan asked. Don't worry, we have our dear Grandpa Bai and Grandpa Yao to help us. We can just ask the local authorities to arrest them. Zhang Xiaobao replied with a smile. What did they use in exchange? Wontons. We'll go make them later. You only know how to bully people. What do you mean bully? We have nothing to do anyway. We'll just take advantage of them and suffer some losses. We understand that it's not a big deal. We'll just treat it as a game. Our mentality has always been to transcend the rules. We're just willing to live within the rules. Ha! Little Zhu, Little Bei, and the others are out. Oh my God, isn't this bullshit? As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he turned his head and saw his younger brother and sister dragging a model boat. He didn't know where they found ribbons, but they used them as ropes and hung them on the model boat. Together, they pulled in different directions. Even when the boat was pulled down, they continued to drag it. As they walked, they made yo-yo sounds, chanting. Rushing over, Zhang Xiaobao pretended to be angry and said to the little guys, "Who told you to pull me like this?" As she spoke, she glanced at the maidservants and male handymen who were taking care of her. The few of them were frightened. A courageous maidservant explained, "Little young master, didn't you say that we should let little young master and little young mistress play whatever they want? That's not the way to play. You have to tell them that the purpose of playing is to learn, not to exhaust their strength. At this time, you have to tell them the rules of carrying the log. If 8 people can't carry a log, then 6 people can change. If 6 people can't carry it, then 4 people can change. Let them gradually understand the importance of unity during the process of playing." Zhang Xiaobao finally said the reason why he was angry. Only then did the maidservants feel relieved. It wasn't that they were not allowed to play, but that they were missing a step. At this time the little guys also stopped. Their eyes looked at the most powerful brother in their hearts. Wang Wan's younger sister, little Zhu, pulled the rope on her shoulders twice and sang, "Hey yo, hey yo. Okay, I'll let you guys pull at the swimming pool on the boat in a while." Zhang Xiaobao was very satisfied with the little guy's way of doing things. If he directly told them to be united, they wouldn't understand. They would understand after a while. Xiao Bei tried hard to take off the rope on her body and give it to her brother. She cried out anxiously. When Zhang Xiaobao took the rope in his hand and pulled the boat up by himself, the little guys looked at their brother with eyes full of worship. Zhang Xiaobao enjoyed this kind of worship very much. He said to the maidservants, "Cooperate with them and let them know how to use their strength." The maidservants took the other ropes one by one and each found a direction and began to pull. Sure enough, they couldn't pull. Wang Wan cooperated and came in front of Zhang Xiaobao. She pulled with all her strength and said, "Please do this with me." "I'll do this with you." If the maidservants still didn't know what to do, they would have been kicked out of the inner courtyard. In order to let the little guys understand, the group talked and walked at the same time. This time the little ones understood. After their brother and sister walked one round, they all took over and shouted, "Please do the same with me," and pulled the boat up together. However, after pulling a few steps, they thought of something even more interesting. Zhang Xiaobao's younger brother asked the others to stop first. He pulled by himself and sang, pull the radish, I-O, pull the radish. Remember, take them to play like this in the future." Zhang Xiaobao looked at the little guys' serious faces and said to the maidservants with a smile. This scene happened to be seen by the 3 old men who came out of the cabin. After Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were busy making wontons and left, Old Man Pai said to Old Man Chang and Old Man Yao, "See? This is the real education. Don't look at how good the schools and academies of the Zhang family and Wang family are. They don't show their real ability at all. When the children grow up and start learning, as long as they learn something, they can understand it according to their previous experience." Old Man Chang and Old Man Yao had to admit that the education of the Zhang family and Wang family was indeed different from others, but it was the best. Now that you mention it, I also remember that the children of other families are told not to do this and not to do that, but the children of the Zhang family and Wang family have never been told that. They are always told what to do or demonstrated when they can't do it well. This won't do. I have to write this down. In the future, when I educate my descendants, I'll write a copy and send it to the palace. I've decided to keep an eye on the children. The Zhang and Wang families always give the children the best things. The best place to sleep, the best food, the best toys and the best education. As long as the children aren't stupid to death, then they'll all be talents. Old Man Yao also agreed, and was ready to shift his attention from Xiaobao and Wang Wan to the children. This decision was not wrong. After lunch, in the afternoon, Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao gave each of the children a set of drawing tools. It was the kind of drawing tools with big circles and small circles. Different small circles were placed in different big circles. No matter how they scribbled inside, they could draw all kinds of beautiful circles or ovals. There were also crayons of different colors. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao also accompanied them. Wang Wan took a drawing clip and sketched with charcoal strips. Zhang Xiaobao used a brush to draw mountains and rivers. Even the servant girls who served them had changed into simple and elegant clothes. They were either writing or grinding. All of a sudden, a unique atmosphere appeared. The children, who had slept for an hour, wanted to play. When they saw their older brother, sister, and the people who usually played with them there doing almost the same thing, they changed their original thoughts and picked up their toys to draw. As they drew, Wang Wan's younger sister did not use tools. She only held a crayon and copied her older sister, drawing whatever she saw. No one made a sound. They were all quietly doing their own things. The 3 old men who had eaten a lot of wontons walked out of the cabin and saw a scene with a special charm in the mountains and rivers. This kind of scene was not something they could bear to destroy. Just by looking, they felt a sense of tranquility in their hearts. Why do I feel a little scared when I look at them? Old man Chang whispered. He found that what he saw was not a group of children, but a silent battlefield. On the battlefield, tens of thousands of horses stood with spears in their hands. What a powerful aura. This is what Xiao Bao and Cuckoo meant when they said that the environment affects people. Remember, children are often affected by the environment. Old Man Pai said with emotion. The 3 people quietly walked closer. Old Man Pai had long known about Wang Wan's special drawing method. The people or things she drew were as real as they could be. However, he did not like it, because he felt that it lacked the abstract charm that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had described. However, Wang Wan did not only draw like this. She drew well, and the other drawing method he taught her was also good. Zhang Xiaobao was worse. This was compared to Wang Wan. Compared to other children of the same age, he was still better. The maidservants' drawing and writing were average. After all, they were usually busy with other things and did not have much energy to devote to it. Being able to draw and write was not a skill that ordinary maidservants could possess. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family's maidservants could do it. The little ones' drawing toys were not bad. He did not know what they were thinking, but no matter how hard they tried, they would always be able to draw a beautiful picture. The most interesting one was Xiaozhu. She actually did not use that toy to draw. Could it be that she wanted to draw something like a cuckoo? This was drawn by Xiaozhu? Old Man Bai quietly moved closer and began to be evaluated by the people around him. As he watched, he arrived behind Wang Wan's sister, Little Zhu. When he saw that she wasn't using any tools and was only holding a specially made crayon in her hand, he thought that she was just randomly drawing. In the end, when he saw Little Zhu lying down and drawing, he was finally moved. If this drawing was placed in the academy, anyone who drew it would give the lowest rating. It was really too bad. There was only a rough outline, and the water and trees in the drawing only looked like water and trees. Especially that water, the ups and downs were too bad. The trees were not bad, and one could see the branches. However, this drawing was drawn by a child who was more than 1 year old, and less than 2 years old. Furthermore, she used a thick crayon and matched the drawing with similar colors. This was not a simple matter. At this time, Xiaozhu was worrying about the color of a stone. The stone was yellow, but it was not yellow, and it was not green. The yellow stone had light green moss on it. How could this color match? The crayon did not have a light green color. Old Man Zhang and Old Man Yao also came over. When the 3 old men saw that Xiaozhu had to match the color, they were all worried. Xiaozhu first used a dark cyan crayon to paint the approximate position, then used a yellow crayon to paint another layer, turning it into a light cyan with a hint of green. Chapter 600. Old Man Pai was excited to see this, so he moved forward and carefully looked at Xiaozhu's drawing. Suddenly he couldn't help but say, "Xiaozhu, this place should be lightly brushed all the way to the end, not brushed over one stroke after another." Xiaozhu was shocked. She turned around and saw the Old Man Pai behind her. She knew him, so she calmed down with a puzzled expression. She didn't even understand what Old Man Pai was saying. "It should be like this. Look, I'll draw it for you." Old Man Pai grabbed Xiaozhu's crayon and brushed it according to his idea. There was a sound that couldn't be heard, and the crayon broke. That stroke was actually half a foot long. Old Man Pai looked at the half-broken crayon in his hand, and the drawing in a daze. Xiaozhu, on the other hand, stared blankly for a moment before bursting into tears. The crayon was broken, and so was the drawing. Only then did Old Man Bai remember that the other party had used a crayon, and not a writing brush. In a fluster, he began to comfort Xiao Zhu. Old Man Zhang and Old Man Yao also knew that Old Man Bai had gotten himself into trouble. It was fine if this stroke was done well, but it ended up like this. How old was Xiao Zhu? She didn't know how to endure and compromise. Her drawing was ruined, and her crayon was also broken. She was usually very careful when she used it, as it was given to her by her brother and sister. So she took up her weapon and wept. At this moment, the special atmosphere was broken. The surrounding people all stopped and turned their eyes to Xiao Zhu. Old Man Pai looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and explained, I just wanted to teach Xiao Zhu how to draw, but the crayon broke, and there was also a mark on the drawing. This matter, Sai. Wang Wan smiled and came over to look at her sister's drawing. Not bad. She had improved from last time. She hugged her sister and comforted her. Broken Pen Wu. He's bad. Xiao Zhu cried as she saw her family. She pointed at Old Man Pai and complained. Zhang Xiaobao took a small knife and came over as well. Old Man Pai began to say to him, I saw that Xiao Zhu's drawing was not bad, so I wanted to take her in as a student. I never thought that things would turn out like this. Why didn't you pay more attention to her? If you knew that she was so good at drawing, you should have found her a good teacher. Grandpa Bai, last month, Cuckoo and I found out that Xiao Zhu is still young, so it's not suitable to find a teacher to teach her. We'll let her slowly draw by herself. When she's older, if she still has this interest, then we'll talk about it again. Sometimes, Cuckoo will let her watch her draw, and she's learned a lot. Grandpa Bai, don't think that it's just crayons. If you really practice it well, your drawing won't be worse than drawing with charcoal or a brush. When you draw, as long as you have a soul, it doesn't matter what kind of brush you use. Grandpa Bai, take your time and leave the rest to me. Zhang Xiaobao was raising his younger siblings according to his own education philosophy. He had to wait until they were at least 3.5 years old before he could teach them specifically. At this age, a child's interest was very unstable. If he really forced them to teach, it would easily cause the child to have reverse psychology and escape emotions. Good intentions would spoil things. Holding a small knife, he went over and gently scraped off the long part of the drawing. He also took a clean towel and rubbed it. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to see it. The maidservant had already brought over a new box of crayons and placed it in Xiao Zhu's hands. Xiao Zhu, who had just been crying so hard that it could shake the heavens, sobbed twice before immediately changing into a smiling face. Choosing the color she wanted to use, she waved her small hands at her brother and sister in a beautiful manner. The disaster could be considered over. The after effect was that Xiao Zhu always looked at Old Man Pai with a vigilant gaze, as if Old Man Pai was a heinous villain. The atmosphere just now was broken, and it was gone forever. The little ones became lively, chattering in words that only they could understand. Each of them showed their own drawing to their brother and sister. After hearing a word of praise, they would be happy for a long time. Old Man Pai retreated with an awkward expression. He said to Old Man Chang and Old Man Yao, who were trying hard to hold back their laughter, see? This is the education of the Zhang family and Wang family. They are not even 2 years old, and they can draw such a drawing. What will they do when they are a year old? But even so, the Zhang family and Wang family are still not satisfied. They want to see it again. Old Man Chang nodded and said, I saw it, but this kind of education method is not something an ordinary family can use. Especially that kind of aura just now. There is no need to deliberately do it. Just find a few servants and they can create it. Let alone a rich family. Can the palace maids in the imperial palace do it? This is only the part that has been revealed. There are still methods that have not been revealed. If you want to learn, you don't know how long it will take. What if they teach the children until they are 15 years old? Do you want to learn for 15 years? Even if Old Man Chang did not have a prominent identity like Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao, he knew that from the education of the Zhang family and Wang family's children, he could see how powerful they were. Li Sun, who was also full, came over at this time and interrupted. So if you want to understand, you have to ask clearly. You can't just look. Otherwise, even if you learn, you may not be able to understand the meaning. The Zhang family and Wang family are the kind of people that have always been imitated, but never surpassed. When I have children in the future, I will find Xiao Bao and Cuckoo to teach. Whatever they know, I will learn. Then, other than Xiaobei and the others, no one can compare. After leaving the land, the people brought by Old Man Yao began to feel uncomfortable again. They were not like Old Man Pai's people, who had experienced many things. When they went to Suzhou, they were already uncomfortable for a long time. Fortunately, they were able to reach the shore in the capital at that time. Now they were in a hurry. As long as the ship's supplies were enough, they would move forward without stopping. The ones who were least affected were the little ones. Usually their range of activities was not large. They were always in the yard. Occasionally, they would be carried out for a walk. They also brought their houses, which were specially set aside for them on the ship. There was a small swimming pool, a sand pile, and any toy they got could be played for a long time. Moreover, they were provided with a lot of toys and games. The most important thing was that they could play with their brothers and sisters for a while every day. When the fleet was less than a month away from the destination, the fastest ship in the vanguard had already arrived at Chengdu. The people on the ship immediately got busy as soon as they came ashore. This time, the person in charge was Su Si, the person from the Gu family who bought the firecrackers in Sanshui County. Once he came ashore with a heavy responsibility, he found 2 people to protect him and rode quickly in the direction of Shuangliu County. Su Si rode on the horse with a determined expression. The young master and young lady of the main family had given a death order. This time, they could only succeed and could not fail. Since the main family directly handed the money to him at the market by the small bridge in Sanshui County, he was determined to serve the main family to the death. People said that an army was trained for 1,000 days to be used in a single moment. He had been raised for a few years, so it was time to use it. The small things he did before were all training. This time, he heard from the members of the Zero team that this was a matter of life and death. No matter what, he had to do it well. The 3 riders only took 2 hours to arrive at the county yamen of Shuangliu County. Shuangliu County was also a middle county. There were yamen runners standing at the entrance. As soon as the 3 riders arrived, the yamen runners' eyes fell on the 3 people who jumped off the horse. "Who are you?" One of the 4 yamen runners who were guarding the door stood out and asked loudly with his eyes wide open. Su Si took out something from his arms and handed it over. "Give this to your county magistrate Tian and registrar Wang. I want to see them immediately." "You little fool. You want to see them? Tell me your name." The yamen runner didn't take the thing in Su Si's hand at all. It was a piece of cloth with a very awkward-looking rice seedling embroidered on it. The rice seedling actually had arms and was holding a sign with the word Ji written on it. Su Si didn't have time to waste with the yamen runner. He directly replied, "My name is Su Si. I'm from the inner courtyard of the Zhang family. I'm a 5-star deacon." "What inner courtyard deacon?" "The master is busy. Wait at the gatehouse. Look at the broken thing you're holding. Even if you're anxious, you can't write the wrong words." The yamen runner curled his lips and straightforwardly refused. "This isn't about being anxious. It's about being anxious. Quickly report it. Otherwise, if something happens, you can't bear the responsibility." "Humph." Su Si's face became serious and threatened. The yamen runner still wanted to say something, but another yamen runner behind him pulled him back. This yamen runner was afraid of delaying things. The county magistrate was different from the previous ones. He did things neatly and efficiently. If there was really an urgent matter that delayed things, then he would be guilty. It was fine to report it. If he didn't know who the county magistrate was, then it wouldn't be too late to deal with him. The yamen runner held back his anger and said, "Wait." Then he hurried in. When he arrived at the study, the county magistrate Tian was discussing something with the registrar Wang. Hearing the knock on the door, Tian frowned and said, "Come in." "Sir, there's a person outside who wants to see you and the registrar Wang. This is what he brought." His tone is harsh. It seems that he doesn't take you seriously at all. The yamen runner took his revenge and presented the thing in his hand as he spoke. When the county magistrate Tian and the registrar Wang saw the cloth embroidered with the rice seedling, they were stunned. This thing was very familiar to them. It was a rice seedling, but the words on it made them blush. What happened to the head of the Zhang family? Why did he take out a rice seedling to test them? It was obvious that he didn't trust the two of them. Sir, don't be angry. I can see that they are not good people. I'll go and deal with them now. The Yamen runner who was observing the two thought that they were angry and immediately added, Bulsh *T. Open the main door for me. The Yamen runners are waiting on both sides to welcome me. Am I, Tian, an ungrateful person? Someone bring me the clothes I wore when I was studying. I'm the strong grass. County Magistrate Tian scolded the Yamen runner and immediately started to prepare. Wang was stunned and said, Brother Tian, can you lend me some extra clothes? There's no time. Half an hour later, Su Si and the other two people who were waiting outside the Yamen saw the door creak open. Two people walked out. They were wearing civilian clothes embroidered with the words Jianjia. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.